Good morning. Start your day informed and ahead. Today is Monday, the 3rd of August. I'm Angela Lagunsad Castro.
And I'm Cheska Letoncala. We are bringing you the perfect mix of the headlines you need and the conversations that shape your day.
From the news desk to the digital space, we have got you covered. I'm Pauline Verzosa, and welcome to Morning Matters.
Now, first in the news, the impeachment trial of Vice President Sara Duterte resumes today with the prosecution set to present a former Commission on Audit official. Roderick Wamil is expected to testify on the alleged misuse of 612.5 million pesos in confidential funds by the OVP and DepEd. Two other subpoenaed witnesses are scheduled to take the stand on Tuesday and Wednesday. And last week, two former land bank managers described the large cash withdrawals by the OVP and DepEd as unusual. All right, so this is the 5th week of the impeachment trial of Vice President Sara Duterte, and the prosecution is expected to flesh out details on how the confidential funds were used. If last hearings focus on where did the 612 million pesos in confidential funds come from and how was it withdrawn. So this week, ang sinasabi nila, we will know hopefully kung saan ba ginastos itong confidential funds na ito. Is it properly liquidated, diba, properly spent? I was able to talk to Congressman Chua earlier today, and he said that it's also crucial for the, of course, without divulging too much of the case, the merits of the case, sabi niya, it is also crucial kung papaano na gasta ng Office of the Vice President and the DepEd yung renta ng mga safe houses supposedly under the Department of Education.
And then another thing that the prosecution is also seeking to prove or establish is whether or not the OVP violated yung auditing rules.
Yes.
Or if they also fail to satisfy yung accountability requirements when it comes to confidential funds. Then they, over the weekend, then sinabi din nila, I think they took Senator Ping Lacson's advice because they have lined up reserve witnesses who are experts in confidential fund, and intelligence fund operations para daw ma-explain sa senator judges kung ano yung standard government procedures and to be able to determine whether or not the the VP spending departed from the rules na kailangan sundin.
But idagdag ko lang, Paulina, itong si Roderick Wamil na to, aside from being the former state auditor of COA, he is also part of Intelligence and Confidential Funds Office, so COA ICFAO. So I guess is also competent witness to tell us more about how the confidential funds were used.
And it's going to be interesting, especially this week, kasi nga, officials from COA na nga will be testifying, and as we know, the COA had issued notices of disallowance to the Office of the Vice President, right? So we're gonna see, kasi last week sinabi na ng mga bank officials that the transactions were unusual. We're also gonna see now if these disallowances will amount already to irregularities. But of course, innocent naman until proven guilty ang akusado dito. But what we will also be watching out for is the cross-examination of the defense. Remember last week, they didn't really fully cross-examine the witnesses kasi sabi ni Attorney Michael Poa, for them there was nothing to dispute already. The checks exist, the withdrawals are legitimate, authentic. But now, they said they want to ask clarificatory questions to the COA officials. And titignan na rin po natin if they will be able to defend how they use this money, where did it go. But again, there are confidentiality rules, diba? So, hindi rin natin alam hanggang saan nilang yung pwede nilang sabihin.
Exactly. And kanina maidagdag ko lang din regarding sa interview kay Congressman Chua, sinabi ko nga rin sa kanya, tinanong ko sa kanya, ano yung sagot nila talaga dun sa sinasabi ng depensa na it's normal to have aliases, code names for intelligence work. Na-prove ba nila nung House Justice Committee pa lang na talagang wala yung COA DBM circular memorandum na kailangan nasa envelope yung mga aliases and the real names. So sabi niya gano'n, kasi kung umpisa pa lang nasabi na nila at na-establish na nila na meron nun, di sana wala tayo ngayon dito, sabi niya. Or wala itong article of impeachment na to dito sa pinag-uusapan natin. So wala silang ma-establish na gano'n. And we all know naman how important that envelope, we'll see what's going to happen
Well, who
later.
knows? Malay mo, may ipakita yung
Bigla
defense,
pala,
diba? Because I know they're
Mary
supposed to have,
Grace
aside from the
Piatos.
envelope, like a notebook or a ledger, where you put the
Document,
corresponding
yes.
identity of the alias nga. Pero malay nyo nga, diba? May
Kailan kasi
makikita
ang
sila.
importante na ibigay mo siya sa COA
Yes.
for proper auditing.
Yes. But hindi nila ginawa yun.
Yun ang wala.
But
Kaya
the
may
thing is-
notice of disallowance.
But the thing is, we have to wait for the prosecution to finish
Ay, oo nga.
everything before we
If they
possibly see if the defense has that notebook or ledger.
Pero sabi ni Congressman Chua, we can expect shorter presentation ulit dito kung mapuprove na nila kaagad. Parang nangyari noong nakaraan.
Okay.
So kahit yung 30 days yung allotted nila, maaaring ma-shorten yun
Okay.
para maka-move forward. Kasi we want nga na sana wag magkaroon ng impeachment fatigue yung public.
Yes, oo. And hinighlight naman din, in-emphasize ni Attorney Domingo Cayosa last week to us, right, that here, the prosecution doesn't really have to prove that the Vice President enriched herself through these confidential funds. If the prosecution can prove that there were indeed irregularities, even with the compliance requirements, right, in liquidating confidential funds, and that can already constitute an impeachable
Yun.
offense. Okay, but in other news, Ombudsman Boying Remulla said his office had anticipated the Sandigan Bayan's decision to grant bail to former Senator Bong Revilla. In an interview, Remulla said he wants to meet with the Supreme Court to discuss anti-corruption efforts. He added that closer cooperation among government branches is needed to strengthen the country's fight against corruption. In a separate matter, Remulla said Batangas 1st District Representative Leandro Leviste and Senator Loren Legarda could face plunder and graft charges over the alleged failure to deliver renewable energy projects worth around 10 billion pesos. And he described the undelivered power as ghost electricity and alleged that Legarda used her position to help her son secure a franchise for solar energy projects.
Di ba meron tayong mga ghost projects na binitira? Dito, ghost electricity. Pangako nila magpo-produce sila ng kuryente. Pangako nila sa Philippine Energy Plan, nakalimbag itong dapat production na gagawin ng solar. Pero hindi nila ginawa. Kung meron silang ginawa, kakaunti, kakarampot. Hindi kagaya ng pinangako nila na gagawin nila.
Right, so let's start first with the case of former Senator Bong Revilla. No? Malversation is a non-bailable case, meaning hindi automatic yung pag-bail niya. But he was still able to file a petition. And as we know, the Sandigan Bayan 3rd Division has already granted his petition for bail worth 1 million pesos because 2 out of 3 judges found na the prosecution did provide sufficient evidence to link him to this ghost project nga in Pandi, Bulacan. But what surprised me more is what Ombudsman Remulla said, na they weren't surprised. They anticipated na mukhang tinatrabaho na magkaroon ng grant of way, but for him it's an eye-opener that they have to fight harder against corruption. It's surprising kasi sinabi ng Ombudsman, diba, na they've been building airtight cases para nga hindi ito ma-dismiss, hindi ma-bail, and yet yun pa rin yung nangyari. The court wasn't able to find sufficient evidence, and it's quite disheartening na bakit ganun pa rin yung nangyayari, diba? I mean, we're talking about holding the big fish accountable when it comes to this flood control scandal, but sa huli parang nakakahanap pa rin sila ng ways on how to skirt our justice system. So it's good that Ombudsman Remulla wants to have this dialogue because he's saying na before he already questioned corruption in the judiciary.
Yeah.
So we have to keep an eye on this.
Another thing I think that the Ombudsman pointed out that's also very important to remember is that former Senator Bong Revilla was directed to pay 124.5 million in civil damages to the National Treasury, which has yet to be done.
And then, for context as well, kasi for the public, baka ang naiisip nila or most of the people naiisip na sa social media pag nababasa natin, akala nila Senator Revilla is out of the woods already. No po, no? Ang nangyari lang po dito, bail lang po siya, kumbaga, ay temporary liberty po, siya po ay kailangan pa rin umattend ng mga hearings regarding this case. It's just that his custody is not with BJMP Payatas. No? Kumbaga, temporary lang po talaga, as we said earlier. And yun nga, isang justice lang in that case, the sole, kumbaga, dissenter, sinasabi nila na hindi pumapayag na sinasabing mahina yung kaso on connecting former Senator Revilla. And we have to remember, Revilla was dubbed by the Office of the Ombudsman as a proponent or a politician whose job is to ensure that a specific DPWH project will be funded by the national government. Kasi being the chair committee at that time in the Senate. So parang yun yung sinasabi niya. So ano yung nakikita nung ibang judges or justice na hindi strong yung evidence. But yun nga, ang tinignan lang naman nilang ebidensya nito ay for the bail petition. So it doesn't mean siya po ay not guilty dito sa kanyang kaso na ito, because there will be a lot of hearings, etc. regarding this para mas mabuksan natin yung case at maintindihan natin yung participation niya.
Pero dun sa ibang mga akusado, hindi rin na-grant yung kanila. It was only former Senator Bong Revilla who was granted a petition for bail. Now, on the case of the preliminary investigation of the Ombudsman on Senator Lauren Legarda and her son, Congressman Leandro Leviste, PI stage pa lang yan, which means it's one step closer to being filed as a case in the Sandigan Bayan. Senator Lauren Legarda already denied the allegations, but of course, at least there's a proper forum for them to do this, and we'll see kung aabot nga talaga yan sa korte.
They also mentioned na that Solar Philippines Power Project Holdings Inc. Was founded by Leandro Leviste at 20 years old back in 2013, and he was already awarded, I think, over 30
billions.
More than 30 service contracts with the government.
And that time, if I'm not mistaken, Senator Legarda was also the chairperson of the Finance Committee, which now they're saying that it gave her room to lobby for her son.
Influence. I think, if I'm not mistaken, nakita ko rin parang merong, we have yet to fact-check that, na merong statement si former Congressman Lito Atienza regarding that.
Yes.
He was influenced nga daw, parang sinabihan ni Senator Legarda na bigyan mo ng franchise itong anak ko, then you will have this much amount to spend. May ganong accusation.
Okay.
So we have to check on that as well. Because it is also very important to shed light on this issue because nakikita natin kung ano ba yung dapat na transparency on energy renewable industry, di ba? Lalo na ngayon, ang problema natin, kuryente. Di ba?
It's a very large contract, diba? Billions yan, and yet wala namang
Tapos walang
naipakita.
resulta.
It's a ghost electricity, as Ombudsman Remulla said. And the thing here kasi is conflict of interest, diba? If you're a senator, you're the mom, and then you lobbied for your son who got a very large contract, government contract. Sabi nga ni Ombudsman Remulla, plunder is not limited naman to just using public funds. As we've seen in the case of Senator Marcoleta, Senator Mike Defensor, right, in his campaign funds. That's why he was charged with plunder, is because he enriched himself, he amassed wealth na hindi naaayon as a public official.
And you have to take note, may former energy secretary pa na involved.
Yes.
Diba?
Secretary
Si
Cusi.
All right, moving on to sports. The DC Open women's final between Alex Ayala and top seed Jessica Pegula remains suspended due to heavy rain. Pegula took the opening set 6-4 after recovering from a 3-4 deficit. The American won 3 straight games to close out the first set. Ayala, however, made a strong start in the second and was leading 2-1 when play was halted. The match had already been delayed by 3 hours before another downpour forced organizers to suspend the action. Players and fans are now awaiting word on when the championship match will resume. While we're waiting for this match to continue, we need to talk about Alex defeating former world number 1 Naomi Osaka. Sunday morning, early morning Philippine time. That was amazing because Alex won 6-4, 6-2. Osaka is known for the power in her serves. Alex was able to return a serve from Osaka that was pretty much 200 kilometers per hour.
God.
I would have just ducked.
Yeah.
So,
very strong.
kitang-kita yung pinagtrabahuan ni Alex when it comes to her returns. So now, as mentioned nga, the match was delayed
Yeah.
It was supposed to be 12 midnight here in the Philippines, moved to 3 a.m. and then moved to 6 a.m. And I think till now they're cleaning the courts
Okay.
pa. So we'll see if it will still push through within the day or if they will reschedule. But
Tomorrow.
all else, go Alex.
If I'm not mistaken, Pegula is no easy feat, diba?
No.
Because she was already beat Alex before.
Yes, sa Miami Open last year.
Pero pagka natalo siya ni Alex, talagang wow.
Statement talaga yan.
Statement.
Mawawala na tayong lahat.
Even Jessica Pegula was impressed by the turnout of the crowd. Di ba, nakita natin sa
Dami
video
niyang fans
earlier. The court was very, very full. And for someone, she said, for someone who isn't even in the top
Yes.
5 yet of
Yes.
the top tennis players in the world, it's really impressive that Alex is drawing this much fans. So, that's also a testament, no? Na sikat na talaga yung Alex natin.
Talagang it's just amazing how we are able to witness her journey.
Yes.
From being in the lowest rank, tapos binabalita natin na, uy, 100 plus na siya. Tapos biglang, uy,
nasa top
70
50
plus
na
na
siya.
siya. Yung ganito na siya. No? Talagang it makes us proud as
Before you know
Filipinos.
it, she's a WTA champion.
Hindi ako duda dyan. Alex, baka naman, mabisita mo kami here.
I know. Don't go away. Morning Matters will be back after a short break.
Welcome back. You're still watching Morning Matters here on One News. Now, as reported earlier, the impeachment trial of Vice President Sara Duterte enters its 11th day. And for the latest from the Senate, let's bring in our mobile journalist, Marymon Reyes. Marymon, ano ba pwede natin asahan from today's proceedings?
Pauline, for day 11 of the impeachment trial of Vice President Sara Duterte, the House prosecution will continue presenting its case in chief for the article of impeachment 1. Ito yung alleged misuse of public funds, to be specific, yung confidential funds na last week, ang una nilang pinresent na land bank branch managers, ipinakita muna yung naging pagkuha ng pera, yung sa disbursement nito, nalagpas o almost 612.5 million pesos. Though naging mabilis lang yung direct examination nila, isang tanong lang yung binato ng defense na wala ng cross-examination. Ngayon, ipepresent naman nila ngayong linggo ay mga opisyal naman na mula sa Commission on Audit or COA. Unang-una for this day, si Roderick Wamil, former state auditor ng COA, Intelligence and Confidential Funds Office. Aside from him, subpoenas were also issued by the court. Dito naman kay State Auditor Celine May del Campo, pero tomorrow siya. And then on Wednesday, ito naman si House of Representatives Legislative Information Resources Management Department Director Marivic Pareha. So ang schedule ngayon ng impeachment trial onwards 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. kasi 4 p.m. onwards regular plenary session naman ng Senado. Poli.
Nabanggit mo nga, Mary Mon, last week hindi nag-full cross-examination ang defense. Pero for this week, may balak na ba silang mag-cross-examine ng mga testigo?
Fully legal strategy kasi siya eh. Kung last week ang sinasabi ng prosecution, ang pinakapakay muna nila is yung pagpapakilala muna, yung nung case in chief nila. Kaya yun yung sinimula nila, yung bank branch managers. And while wala pang nakikitang ka-questionable itong defense, it will really depend kung ngayon dito sa COA may makikita sila. And wala namang pumipigil sa kanila kung mag-cross-examination sila. Wala ring pipigil sa prosecution kung magre-redirect sila or magkakaroon ulit ng re-cross-examination from the defense. Usually naman pagkatapos ng presentation at wala nang nagsasalita from the prosecution, especially from the defense, ito namang senator judges, may time naman din sila para magbato ng mga katanungan.
Ang prosecution naman, Mary Mon, kung sila tatanungin, ano ba yung na-establish na nila from last week's presentation on article on the misuse of confidential funds?
Yung mere idea lang at yung fact na may malaking pera na kinuha mula sa Office of the Vice President pati sa DepEd in such a short span of time
Mary Mon,
na
sorry, we're gonna have to cut you there for now. We will get back to you for more updates on the Senate impeachment trial. Well, as we know, President Bongbong Marcos wants to remove system loss charges that power distributors pass on to consumers. Marcos made the proposal during his fifth State of the Nation address last July 27. The Senate Committee on Energy has since begun reviewing the Electric Power Industry Reform Act, or EPIRA, to determine what changes to the law are needed. Meanwhile, Meralco Chairman and CEO Manny V. Pangilinan said the power distributor is prepared to work with the government on the matter.
Joining us now is Alex Escucha, President of the Institute for Economic Development and Econometric Analysis, or IDEA, to discuss the possible removal of system loss charges and what it means for consumers. Good morning and thank you for joining us.
Good morning.
Good morning. All right, so President Bongbong Marcos says consumers should no longer pay for the system loss charges, and it was well received by the public. From an economic standpoint, what are the potential benefits and risk of removing system loss charges?
Let me make two key points. One, it is a very populist move, very attractive to the public. However, there should be a clear study on whether it is even the announcement itself. And to be fair to the president, he did not say remove. He just demanded the review of the EPIRA law, which is the correct statement to make. Okay. So let me make a couple of points. Number one, it's clear that the point has been made that system loss has two components. One is the technical part, and this is the physics part of it, where from the generation initiation unit all the way to the consumer, there's some loss. And the ERC already has some limits to that, like 3.75%. Then there is the non-technical part, which is consists of losses from illegal connections, jumpers, and similar stuff. In For the non-technical stuff, the limit set by the ERC for cooperatives is 4.5, which is a total of 8.25% of a cap. No. Second point, let me make a very major distinction. I reviewed my Meralco bill from October last year and versus July this year. Uh, the uh, the Meralco system loss is uh, is 5.69% actually, and the VAT on that is 10.08%. Uh, in short, the Meralco franchise is actually relatively efficient compared to global standards already. Okay. It is the electric cooperatives outside of the Meralco franchise, and there are 121 of them, where these losses are huge. To be fair, there are some electric cooperatives who are efficient enough to meet the 8.25% cap on system losses. But on the other hand, there are also struggling cooperatives whose losses range from 16% to 39%. These are big. Either they are struggling or they are really badly managed. So these are the ones that should be really reviewed. So if I may continue, in short, this from an economist point of view and also from a consumer point of view, uh, while the statement of the president is looks popular, and in fact it was one of the most uploaded, uh, the science here is relatively established, no? So, to my mind, anong dapat mangyari? Okay. Uh, I think it's a bad idea to simply say remove all system loss charges, including the VAT per se. I don't agree with that. What should be done is two steps, or actually several steps. But the key steps is uh, compare everywhere in the world what is the standard for the system loss that could be recovered. And this is a system loss charge that is already known to utilities worldwide. No? The best cases in Germany, Belgium, and Sweden, uh, you can say arbitrarily, if you say still stick with the 3.75% and maybe allow for maybe just 1% more, or wrap it up at 4 or 5%, and then anything above that should be absorbed by the utility. What does
All right,
it
sir.
mean? It means that there is an incentive for them to improve their efficiency.
Yes.
Because if they're allowed to pass on everything, edi sige-sige na lang, and they're not being penalized for being inefficient.
All right. Well, sir, there are several perspectives to this. We know the consumers obviously are very happy hearing hearing the call to review EPIRA, but in terms of the distributors, can they handle an industry where the consumers are not answerable to the system loss charges? What will happen to the distributors?
Uh, my short answer is yes. In other words, as long as the properly regulated, the well-regulated distribution utilities elsewhere in the world has these two steps. In other words, okay, we know that there is something that is unavoidable, which is the very technical physics, which is based on physics. But the losses beyond that you should be able to manage. In the same manner, because if you're able to manage that, any reduction in your insufficiency or loss is goes directly to their bottom line. Now, why is Meralco differently situated from the badly managed cooperatives? I look at the data, and the cooperatives are non corporations, okay? But they are supervised by the National Electricity Administration, and uh, the losses that they incur told me that from 2022 to 2026, they had a subsidy from NEA of 13.82%. Now, if
All
they
right, Sir
continue
Sir
Alex.
to be
Alex.
mismanaged,
Oh,
or that's an
Sir
average
Alex,
of
we're so sorry.
2.76% billion
We
per
we
year.
are out of time. Thank you. So sincere apologies. We're out of time, but hopefully we can have you another time to talk more about this. Thank you for your time and insights, Alex Escucha, President of the Institute for Economic Development and Econometric Analysis.
Thank you.
All right, but don't go away because Money Talks with Kathy Young is up next to get you ahead of the markets. I'm Pauline Verzosa. Stay tuned to One News.
Philippine factory activity continued to expand in July. A stronger demand pushed new orders and production to their highest levels before the Middle East conflict broke out. Data from the S&P Global showed the country's manufacturing purchasing managers index rose to a 5-month high of 51.8 in July, up from 50.9 in June. The report said stronger underlying demand and new project wins helped drive the increase in orders, prompting manufacturers to boost output and purchasing activity. At the same time, firms reported renewed pressure from higher input costs and longer supplier delivery times, which they linked to the conflict in the Middle East. And joining us this morning is Trade and Industry Secretary Cristina Roque. It's good seeing you again, Sec Chris. Welcome back to the program.
Hi, Kathy. Thank you again for having me.
So what do you make of it? It's a 5-month high, an increase for a third straight month on the Philippine manufacturers PMI.
Yes, actually, there's really a push, and there's really, we really make sure that we can get this manufacturing industry going, not just for the needs locally but also globally. So, nandyan talaga yung push ng government to make sure that we get the products out there, whether locally or globally. So, we are always assisting all of these manufacturing industries and the department really has a lot of opportunities and possibilities for them.
Such as, maybe we could discuss the push for exports, those serving
Yes,
the
yeah.
global
Yes,
market.
correct, yeah.
What has the DTI done so far, given that we've had a Middle East conflict that has given us an oil shock with costs really moving higher?
Yes, actually, as I mentioned before, no, in 2025, we hit an all-time high of 15.4%, and then January up again, February up, March up by 20.4%, April up again, May up, June, we just got the numbers that it's an all-time high again of 24%. So again, we can really see that the Philippine products are really ready for the global market. So aside from the global market that we're really pushing, we're also making sure that the strength of the local market is there. So dapat talagang alagaan both local market and global market. Because actually the local market is the market that is attractive to the foreign investor. So talagang yung mga manufacturers natin, no, and even the exporters, no, we also encourage them to sell locally, not just globally. In fact, last month or a few weeks ago, we just had the exports fair in Mega Mall, no, which is the first time actually that exporters had the opportunity to showcase their products that they export. So they were actually amazed also at the sales that they received, and also a lot of inquiries and a lot of orders that they received from the local market.
Could you give us some color there on the demand overseas for our exporters, and also of the local demand that those exhibitors have seen?
Yes, actually malaki talaga yung demand overseas, especially now with the free trade agreements. The Marcos administration will go down in history as the most free trade agreement, which is 23. So we are down now to the last 5, which we hope to conclude this year, which the Philippine-EU FTA, which is a huge market. The European market is a huge market. Then there's also the Philippine-Canada FTA, which again is a big market, the Canadian market. And then after that, we just concluded the Philippine-Chile FTA, which will open the South America market, the 300 million population in South America. And then we have the JEPEPA, which we hope to conclude in November, which will also be a big boost for the banana industries.
Well,
and
what
then,
more can you tell us about Chile? Because that has come
okay.
through
Yes, yeah.
last week.
Yes,
what
yeah.
benefits are we seeing in that $300 million market?
Okay, there is a lot of potential in the agriculture industry, which is very important for us because we need to give jobs to the farmers, and we really feel that this is an industry where we can still level up leaps and bounds. In fact, yung coconut, no, hit 34.4% increase last year, and then for pineapples and bananas, still growing, but we've seen rising stars in ube and then calamansi. So, yun, ipupush pa natin yun. And there's really a major effort on the Department of Trade on the exports of all of these products. The semiconductors are still there. I mean, the minerals and also a lot of automotive parts. So, semiconductor is still on top, but we want to see a big rise in the agriculture industry. So,
But the U.S. is still the biggest market by far.
yes.
And the U.S. has imposed a 12.5% tariff
Yes, yeah.
since last July 24, and on the basis of allegations of forced labor
Yes,
in
yeah.
our supply chains.
Yes,
What has
yeah.
the DTI done so far to address those allegations?
For us, we had just signed the JAO, Joint Administrative Order with DOF and also DOLE and DTI, that we don't buy products that are child labor, forced labor. We don't do that also here in the Philippines. So we are very firm on this, that there is no such thing that happens in the Philippines, or we don't also purchase from companies that do these kinds of activities. So that's one. And we are still in constant negotiations also. So there are some products that are not part of the 12.5, but again, we cannot really reveal them because we are still under negotiation. So continuous pa rin ang negotiations with the U.S. market. But in the meantime, just by looking at the growth of the export, the world is our market, not just the U.S. So we need to get these free trade agreements going so that we can really also penetrate bigger markets of the world. Yeah.
But what would be an acceptable negotiated settlement, if you will, with the U.S.? Because some of the products not impacted, like semiconductors, some agricultural products,
Yes,
but
yeah.
there are sectors that are impacted, like apparel,
Yes, yeah.
toys,
Correct.
leather goods, travel gear.
Yes, yeah.
What
But-
are we doing, or the DTI doing, to help them?
First, we need to find other markets for them. So we have an office in the DTI called the Export Marketing Bureau, which actually makes sure that we find other markets for them. And we've done this already. Even in the Middle East crisis, like some of the products that we export to the Middle East, we have found either local market for them or other foreign markets for them. So they can count on the Philippine government and the Department of Trade to find additional market for them. That's one. And then number two, we also make sure that they just don't concentrate on one market. We educate them that the world is the market. So hindi tayo pwedeng umasa lang sa isang market because in case may aberya or there are challenges in that particular market, dapat meron pa silang ibang pwedeng pasukan ng market.
Such as the local market,
Yes,
as you
that's
mentioned a
the
couple of
local
moments
market.
ago.
Yes, yeah,
What
which
are
is
the
huge,
opportunities,
yeah.
and how huge is that, given that it's a slowing economy and inflation is still elevated? Where is demand coming from for manufacturers who go export and who also can provide for the local market?
The local market is huge. We are almost 115 million Filipinos. So from there alone, you can see the may buying power. So with the products of exporters that are high quality na, mataas na ang kwalidad ng mga local, mga export product, because for them to be accepted in the global market, they have met certain standards. So madali silang makahanap ng mabibentahan dito sa
Such as?
Philippines.
Ano yung mabenta rito ngayon?
Okay, let's say food. They can sell in grocery, supermarkets, hotels, also cafes. There's really actually malaking opportunity dito. In fact, some of the tycoons, they only concentrate on the local market. It's already more than enough. So malaking opportunity. But if you have both local and you also have global, then it's win-win for the company. So sometimes in every crisis such as this, we become more creative in finding other ways to at least yung compensate ba for markets that we cannot enter for the meantime. So what happens is we open that market, and then when this market now becomes accessible again, then now we have new markets plus this market. So now ang laki na ng ano natin. So it's always good to avail of all the opportunities that the Philippine government and the Department of Trade has to offer them. We also have 21 DTI offices all over the world with 29 trade attaches, so we can open opportunities for them there.
And that opportunity, that creativity you mentioned, is based on a framework. We have the Tatak Pinoy strategy
yes, we
that
have
we
the Tatak.
haven't really been so informed about, but really is the backbone of this strategy of supporting local that goes global. Where
Yes.
are we now in that strategy?
Okay, we just actually launched the Tatak Pinoy, which is last month. So we are now encouraging all the industries to avail of this seal, the Tatak Pinoy seal, because there are so many opportunities for them once they have the Tatak Pinoy seal. So there are 9 different industries that are qualified for this Tatak Pinoy seal. So it's best for them. Actually, we are in contact with these industries. So they are now onboarding or availing the Tatak Pinoy seal. Like example of course, they can always sell. They have market here locally and then globally. But now there's also the opportunity of government procurement. So malaki rin ang potential ng supplying the government. So if they have the Tatak Pinoy seal, they have priority and they also have accessibility to government procurement.
Now, how does that connect with the semiconductor framework, as semiconductors really are a very important component
Correct,
in
yeah.
trade, and the government's just lifted the use of eco-zones
Yes,
in
yes,
Metro Manila.
yeah,
How does
yes,
that
yeah.
all connect to that whole industrial strategy that takes us all the way to Pac Silica?
Yeah, okay. For the semiconductors, so we're really pushing for the semiconductor industry because first, this is one of our top, if not our top export. So again, ang importante actually for the semiconductor industry is talent. So we still need, even you ask the big companies, what do you need? Talent, talent, talent. So continuous ang training in TESDA, continuous ang training talaga nila to make sure that we have the talent for these companies that are coming in. So that's one. Number two, the eco zones. We just lifted, or the President just lifted the AO 18 moratorium for Metro Manila, meaning now PEZA zones can now be in Metro Manila, but this is for IT. So IT BPM, any industry that has to do with digitalization, innovation hub, because we need to move closer to the city also, more modern and more, we need to push also digitalization, we need to push the digital economy, we need to level up in these areas where we feel there's still so much potential for growth in the Philippines.
And that leveling up is, as you mentioned, in talent.
Yes, talent,
But
yes,
talent
yeah.
for who? Because a lot of the criticism really stems from the fact that it could mean talent for the low-value assembly, test, and packaging that we want to stay away from as we go AI native. And of course, also the use of critical minerals in creating
Yes.
whatever is AI native in the ecosystem.
Yes, actually talent that's really needed for the industry. So very specific na kami. So we want also these talents in the digital space because of the high-paying jobs. Malaking bayad sa kanila. So ang importante is we provide all of these, let's say, opportunities for them to learn. So it's up to them to choose whether they go for the higher, for the middle, or for the lower. At least what's important is may opportunity para sa kanila.
Such as, could you
Para
name
sa
maybe
mga
one or
tao.
two jobs that can be generated by Pac Silica that's of high value?
Madami. Not just for Pac Silica, but also for the Luzon Economic Corridor, for PEZA, for Batangas. There's actually so many eco zones that are being put up because there's a lot of investments and investors that are coming in or that are expanding here in the Philippines. So there's also, like I just came from Singapore, they're also looking for land to develop logistic parks naman. So madami talagang opportunities dito, not just in the IT, but also in the logistics sector, also in, let's say, for PEZA, for manufacturing, marami talagang ano. So that is important for us, especially with the Create More Act, where the incentives are very attractive now for foreign investors.
All right, we'll leave it there then. Thank you
Yes,
so much
yeah.
for the update.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Secretary
Thank you.
Chris
Thank you.
Roque
Thank
of
you.
the Trade and Industry. You're watching Money Talks. Coming up, fuel price rollback takes effect today, and the impeachment trial for Vice President Sara Duterte resumes today. Our mobile journalist, Medimon Reyes, joins us from the Senate. Keep it here on One News. Welcome back to Money Talks. I'm Kathy Yang. All eyes on the major economic data due out this week, with analysts expecting slower growth and persistently high inflation. A Business World survey of 21 economists and analysts show a median forecast of 2.8% GDP growth for the second quarter. They cited elevated inflation weighing on household spending, along with weak business confidence and slow public infrastructure spending. If realized, this would be much slower than the 5.4% expansion recorded a year ago and would match the 2.8% growth in the first quarter of this year. The forecast would also bring first-half GDP growth to 2.8%, below the government's 3.5% to 4.5% full-year target. Second quarter GDP data will be released on Friday, August 7th. Meantime, a separate Business World poll shows a median forecast of 6.4% for July inflation, unchanged from June. If realized, this would mark a fifth straight month of inflation above the Bangko Central's 4% ceiling. The estimate, however, falls within the central bank's 5 to 6 to 6.6% forecast for the month. Analysts said lower rice prices likely helped offset higher fuel and electricity costs. July inflation data is out on Wednesday, August 5th. Motorists may get a small reprieve at the pump as prices are set to go down tomorrow, Tuesday. But consumers using LPG will now need to pay more for their tanks. DOE Oil Industry Management Bureau Chief Rino Abad estimates diesel prices may fall by 50 cents per liter, gasoline by 80 cents per liter, and kerosene by 2 pesos and 30 centavos. That's based on 4 days of trading at the Mine of Platte, Singapore. Final figures are expected to be announced today. As for LPG, Regasco begins implementing today an increase of 2 pesos and 50 cents per kilogram. That translates to a rise of 27 pesos and 50 cents in the price of a standard 11-kilogram cylinder. Petron Gasul raised LPG prices on Saturday by 3 pesos per kilo. Overseas, U.S. President Donald Trump has held off on a fresh attack over progress on a deal to reopen the Strait of Hormuz and halt Tehran's nuclear program.
I was asked to by Saudi Arabia, by UAE, and by Qatar, and by Iran. We were all set to go just about at this time right now, and it would have been a massive attack. But when the allies ask to call it off, you got to sort of say, well, let's see. And the reason they asked is I think there's a deal. There's a deal on Hormuz, and then there will be a deal on the nuclear, or you might call it the denuclearization of Iran. I call it the denuclearization of Iran.
As of 8:30 a.m. Philippine time, a benchmark Brent crude is trading at $84 a barrel, down 4.6%, while West Texas Intermediate is sitting at $81 per barrel, down 4.8%. Meralco customers are set to receive 9.5 billion pesos in total refunds following an order from the Energy Regulatory Commission. The refund, equivalent to about 34 centavos per kilowatt hour, will be applied over 6 months beginning next billing cycle. The amount covers excess collections from January to December 2025, including nearly 500 million pesos in interest. Meralco says it will comply with the order and implement the refund as quickly as possible. Meralco and Signal TV, the owner of this channel, are part of the MVP Group. Impeachment trial of Vice President Sara Duterte enters day 11, with prosecutors set to present their next witness on the alleged misuse of confidential funds. For the latest from the Senate, let's bring in our mobile journalist, Merimon Reyes. So what can we expect from today's hearing, Merimon?
Patty, for day 11 of the historic impeachment trial of Vice President Sara Duterte, the prosecution will still focus on the article of impeachment 1, alleging the misuse of public funds, or in this case, the 612.5 million pesos worth of confidential funds from both the Office of the Vice President and the Department of Education from year 2022 to 2023. The prosecution will shift its focus on how the VP's alleged confidential funds were spent and liquidated when it presents 2 Commission on Audit officials and 1 House of Representatives records custodian, after tracing first last week how the money moved from National Treasury to cash withdrawals or disbursement. The prosecution will begin presenting their case in chief with Roderick Wamil, former state auditor of the COA's Intelligence and Confidential Funds Office. Tomorrow will be State Auditor Celine May del Campo, and on Wednesday, supposedly, will be House of Representatives Legislative Information Resources Management Department Director Marivic Pareja. In total, for this specific article of impeachment, the prosecution has 13 witnesses in line, but they may not present all if allegations can be established by fewer testimonies and documentary evidence. The impeachment trial is set to continue and to begin at 10 o'clock in the morning until 3 p.m. today. And Mondays to Wednesdays, ang schedule 4 p.m. onwards will be for the plenary session of the Senate. Kathy.
All right, we'll be watching and waiting. Mobile journalist Merimon Reyes, thank you so much for the update. Let's take a quick check on the Philippine peso and see how that's open Monday. It is stronger, 61 flat to the dollar. Peso strengthened by 32 centavos last Friday to close at 61.24 against the greenback, the best finish since June 29. The local unit may move sideways this week and likely hold the 61 per dollar level. Traders will monitor the movement of global oil prices and the release of key economic data, including inflation and second quarter GDP. Checking in on the markets overseas, U.S. stock futures rise in overnight trading as investors await for the jobs report and other earnings releases. The Nasdaq climbs 0.6%. Both the Dow and the S&P 500 advanced 0.4%. Asian markets are tumbling in early trading Monday. South Korea's Kospi falls 5.4%, coming from an 18% surge last Friday, its biggest daily rise on record. Japan's Nikkei 225 sheds 1.8%, and Australia's ASX 200 slides 0.3%. On Sunday, U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent confirmed that Washington and Tokyo coordinated foreign exchange action to prop up the Japanese yen. The yen has slid to 40-year lows, with intervention from the Japanese government in April and May only causing brief rebounds. Bessent said the U.S. would not hesitate to participate in further joint interventions. U.S. markets rose Friday despite a rout in Apple shares. The Nasdaq climbed 1%. S&P 500 0.7%, and the Dow 0.5%. Apple shed 7% after its sale projection missed Wall Street's target. Amazon, though, surged 15%, the largest percentage increase since 2012 due to an acceleration in its cloud computing units. Philippine markets ended in the negative last Friday, with cautious trading expected to prevail this week. The benchmark PSEI fell 1.1% to settle at 6,236. Week on week, the stock market lost 0.7%. This week, investors will be keeping an eye on the release of key macroeconomic data. Trade Asia notes that July's inflation and second quarter GDP can both influence the Bangko Central's rate path. July's inflation will be out on August 5th, while GDP results on August 7th. One stock rallying in recent days is ABS-CBN Corp, which closed Friday at 3.44 pesos per share, a 135% rise from its record low of 1.78 pesos in June. Ron Acoba of Trading Edge says the rally is fueled by speculation of a white knight investor pursuing a takeover of the company. And the 10-year government bond yields ticked down to 7.43%. The country's major telecommunications companies have proposed a $500 million undersea fiber optic network to expand connectivity across the Philippines. The Department of Information and Communications Technology says Globe, PLDT, and Converge have proposed a 30.6 billion peso project to link the country through undersea fiber optic cables. The plan would connect Batanes to Palawan, with links extending to the Visayas and Mindanao, providing better access to islands and other underserved areas. The DICT is now evaluating the proposal, which still requires government approval. If cleared, the project could be completed within 2 years. Secretary Henry Aguda said the undersea network would also feature sensing technology that can detect earthquakes and tsunamis, support real-time data collection, and strengthen national defense. And that is it for Money Talks. I'm Kathy Yang. Catch us again tomorrow at 9 a.m. Kapatid, we are One News, your side, all the time. Morning Matters returns at 9:30 a.m. Have a great day ahead.
Good morning mga kapatid. Welcome back to Morning Matters.
Day 11 of Vice President Sara Duterte's impeachment trial shifts the focus to the Commission on Audit o COA. Former State Auditor Roderick Wamil is expected to testify on the handling of confidential funds. Prosecutors are building their case on the alleged misuse of 612.5 billion pesos by the OVP and DepEd. The defense, meanwhile, is expected to question the evidence and Duterte's financial records.
And to help us break down the legal issues surrounding Day 11 of the impeachment trial, we are now joined by litigation lawyer and law professor, Attorney Howard Calleja. Good morning, Attorney.
Good morning, ladies. Good morning.
Welcome to Morning Matters.
Good morning. Good morning. Very nice morning to see three lovely ladies.
Okay, so Attorney, it's Day 11 of the impeachment trial. Last week, we already saw the prosecution focus on the paper trail, as they say, the bank officials calling the transactions unusual. But this week, we now shift the focus to the COA auditors. What could their testimonies establish?
Well, number one, ang maganda dito, let me just, last week nga, reiterate natin that the money exists. Nakuha yon, no? So, yun yung na-establish doon. Now, question is, tama ba yung paggasta? Tama ba yung pag-report? Kanino ba binigay? So, doon natin pupuntahan. Number one, to establish is, confidential funds are not beyond audit of COA. Kailangan klaruhin natin yan, no? Na yan po sinasubmit pa, may resibo pa na kailangan i-audit yan. Hindi exempt yan for audit, hindi yan exempt na ipakita sa taong bayan. Number one. Number two, paano ba rini-report ang confidential funds? Yan ang kailangan siguro sabihin nung auditor. At di ba ang sinasabi nila, in addition to that, the past few months, nakita ko na sinasabi nila na they have been cleared by COA. I think kailangan i-clear din ito ng auditor. What does that yung clearance mean? Kung meron man or whatever. O kung bang may question pa within this confidential funds between 2022 and 2023. So, klaruhin natin on that score, no? Plus, yun na nga, kasi ang confidential funds, hindi naman yan parang spend all on where, no? Mayroon din guidelines yan on how or where to spend. So, yun din yung kailangan nating tingnan. Kasi may sinasabi sila nung una na yung kahapon naman, last week is unusual. Dito, ito ba, may extravagance ba? Tama ba? Sobra ba? Di ba? I mean, tayo, katabi lang natin ang Shangri-La. Magkano ba dyan? 15,000 a night. Pero hindi naman, 500,000 a month or something. Parang bahay na sa Forbes Park yun kung magkukuha sila ng safe house na gano'n. Pero parang per week lang. Kung 500 per week, siguro, i-list ko na yung bahay ko. Kahit 100 per week, payag na ako.
Well, Attorney, doon po sa sinasabi ninyong proseso ng COA-DBM Joint Circular na kinakailangan i-disclose ang isang ahensya na merong confidential funds, yung kanilang mga operations, yung intelligence operations sila. Ang sinasabi po ni Representative Chua, in the House Justice Committee ba lang, there was no envelope, no, na pinresenta sa COA, no, regarding that process. It is important ba para ma-prove ng prosecution na walang ganoon na listahan ang Office of the Vice President na listahan ng mga totoong pangalan ng mga
yun na nga, kasi
sources nila?
Sa pagkakaalam ko, which I think that would be reaffirmed later, kasi pwede naman yung, let's say, yung mga pangalan, yung mga pseudonym na yan, yung si Mary Grace Piatos, Owishi Tempura, Chippy,
Miggy Mango,
mga ganyan, no? So, pwede yan, pero meron yan na, sabi mo nga, may katapat na resibo yan. Sino ba yan? Sino ba sila? Kasi kailangan i-trace mo naman kung totoo din yan, no? So kung wala, ang tanong dyan is, tama ba yun? Sino ba yun? At di ba ang sinabi nila nung una, meron namang taong ganyan. Meron, I remember si Senator Bato, sinabi pa niya, may mga kilala siyang mga piatos na taga Davao.
Yes.
Tapos later on, sinabi, wala palang taong ganyan. So, iba na naman sila. Sabi na naman nila, pseudonym na naman. So, paiba-iba. Kaya importante yung sinasabing may envelope na, o meron silang listahan na sino ba yung katapat ng mga tao na yan. Kasi hindi, it's so easy to make or invent names. Plus, di ba, ang isa pang question dyan is, yung inimbento nilang pangalan o yung mga signature, pare-pareho kung titingnan mo. So, ano ba talaga ang katotohanan? That's why it would be nice to bring it out in the open. That's why it would be nice itong mga, siguro itong mga kababayan natin, pakinggan talaga itong impeachment na ano ba yung susunod na kabanata. Kasi meron na, kita na natin yung pera lumabas, unusually, na cash pa siyang lumabas, di ba? Hindi cheque. So, yung paggastos ba niyan, tama kay Nino? At sabi ko nga, meron bang extravagance dyan? Meron bang sobra? Meron bang unexplained? So, yun ang mga kailangan pakinggan natin sa susunod na mga linggo.
With all the witnesses listed, and of course with the names that are being questioned, that there's no record of them in the PSA or even through the NBI findings, but even the defense has said they're ready to cross-examine Mary Grace Piatos just to prove that there's no corruption attached to the use of the names released since the House hearings in 2024. But what happens if there is no one who shows up?
Well, if there's no, kung walang lumabas, di ang presumption yan. Kasi titignan mo yan, Cheska, with the statement yung PSA. There's no such person. Tapos wala talagang lumabas. So it would bolster the evidence na it is a fictitious, hindi siya pseudonym, fictitious person. Kung fictitious person siya, di talagang, hindi lang yan may malversation, fraud talaga yan. Diba? So saan napunta yung pera na yan? And if that happens with one person, kasi isa lang naman si Mary Grace, sabi mo nga, may Mickey Mouse, Chippy Tempura, Oishi, etc., etc., di ba?
Mickey Mango.
Mickey Mango.
Mickey Mango.
Favorite mo yung Mickey Mouse.
Oo, kasi alam ko, nung bata pa ako sa Disneyland, si Mickey Mouse eh. Pero whatever, kaya nga natatawa na tayo sa pangalan eh. Kasi iba-iba yung mga pangalan. So talagang pag hindi sila lumabas, makikita na there's hindi lang fishy. There's really something fictitious and malicious here na ginawa. There's fraud, kitang-kita.
Sundutin ko lang to. What if may lumabas? May mag-show up na ako si Mary Grace Piatos, pero I'm using this as a pseudonym. Diba? Paano niya, defense or prosecution, mapapatunayan na, okay, ako nga si Mary Grace Piatos, I'm just using this as my code.
Yeah, yun na nga ang importante dyan. Kaya nga kung may lumabas na Mary Grace, mas maganda yon, mas gusto ko yon dahil I will have her in cross-examination eh. Ang question dyan you don't know if that person is even true. You don't know if the address given is even true. So saan mo padadalhan ng subpina si Mary Grace Piatos? Kasi hindi mo alam kung nasaan siya eh. Di ba? Or magbigay sila ng address, hindi mo alam kung totoo. So yun ang tanong. But ako, I challenge na si Piatos, si Mickey Mango, whoever that is, di ba? Si Oishi Tempura, si Chippy, lumabas sila.
May Xiaomi pa.
May Xiaomi pa. Kasi nga, ako I've been litigating for, hindi ko sasabihin na ilang dekada na. Pero,
Anong grade nyo sa bar?
Basta ang alam ko, number 11 ako sa bar.
Wow!
Oo. Kasi lahat ng hindi, kasi pinapakita
lahat
sa dyaryo,
top 10
1 top 10
lang.
lang.
Oo nga,
So
oo
lahat
nga.
kami,
Yeah.
11 na.
Oo nga naman.
So going back to that is, kasi pag umupo ka dyan sa stand, sa witness stand, I'm sure the lawyers there are si Lorna Capuna, si Liguatan, si Chel Jokno, Laila De Lima, Luistro, they're very good. And they would ferret out the truth once umupo yan dyan. So kung ano yung kasinungalingan niya, lalabas yon. So kaya nga mas maganda lumabas kasi makikita kung ano yung kasinungalingan niya. Pero kung hindi lumabas, then there's already sa akin, solid presumption yun na talagang kumbaga yung presumption na hindi tunay na bolster yan. Na patunayan na hindi talaga totoo. At yung mga binagbigyan ng tao na yan, baka hindi naman talaga tao, baka nagpirma-pirma lang. So I think that bolster it. So on any side, medyo ipit yung defense on this part. Kung ilabas nila, syempre, kahit kahit intelligent person ka, medyo ninervyusin ka once you're in the witness stand. Baka iba-iba yung sabihin mo. So tingnan na lang natin how the hearing goes in the next few weeks.
Pero attorney, ang burden of proof nasa prosecution, di ba? So what happens if hindi nila mapakita where the money actually went. Kasi sabi nga, di ba, last week na-establish na over $500 million pesos was withdrawn from Land Bank in cash, nilagay siya sa mga gym bags, but we don't know saan napunta. So what happens now kung hindi yan mapatuloy ng prosecution? Kasi meron pa rin bang presumption of regularity for the respondent, for the defense?
Well, ang presumption of regularity dyan is yung PSA, yung statistics. Na sinabing hindi tao si
Mary Grace,
hindi tao si Chippy, whatever it is, no? So there is that presumption there. Now, kung hindi nila mapakita yan, that shifts the burden now to the defense.
Okay.
Sino ba yung tao na yan? Although, syempre, kailangan ilatag ng prosecution yung kanyang story, yung kanyang, let's say, presumption of innocence on the other side. Pero pag hindi nga, kasi meron silang ebidensya na sinasabi, hindi totoo ito eh. Yun nga, yung PSA, yung
Findings.
sabi nga natin, walang listahan kung sino ito, hindi mo alam kung ano yung address. So those are already presumptions.
Enough
But
basis.
yeah, enough base. Then it would be bolstered by the affirmation by PSA that wala. So, being a government agency, it has the presumption of regularity na tama yung kanyang dokumento that this person did not exist. Tapos tatawagin mo, walang sumipot na ganong tao or bibigyan mo ng address, sasabihin nung clerk ng trial court, impeachment court, nung binigay namin yung address, walang taong ganyan. So that even bolster na fictitious itong person na to. So that, as I said, no, kung hindi siya lumabas, it bolster na hindi totoo. Kung lumabas naman siya, titingnan natin.
So mas mabigat ang burden ngayon sa defense?
It would shift kasi kung sila nagsabi na may taong ganyan, kung di nila ma-produce yan, at hindi naman totoo yan, di makikita na it is a fraudulent statement because that's the one of the theses of the prosecution na yung listahan mo fraudulent. Na yung listahan mo is just a mere
Dummy,
gawa-gawa lang ito or dummy list or whatever, hindi totoo yan. So that is their thesis. Kung hindi nila mapakita ng depensa yan, yun ang problema nila.
Yeah, but is it possible for the defense to say kaya nga confidential?
Oo.
May
Yun
mga
yung lagi nilang sinasabi.
but also if they need to show that if they use the argument that kaya confidential funds because there are intelligence operations that need to remain confidential. How else can they prove that there were legitimate operational results?
Yeah. We have to distinguish first confidential and intelligence funds.
Okay,
So, iba ang gastos ng intelligence funds
And confidential.
funds. Usually, intelligence funds, nandiyan yan sa mga PNP, sa national defense or military or something, ganyan. Yung confidential funds is usually on civilian purposes, no? Magkaiba rin kaya importante pakinggan natin yung sinasabi ng witness later on or the next few days kasi sila magsasabi, ano ba ang limitasyon? Ano ba ang yung sinasabing confidentiality? Up to where is it confidential? At sabi nga, Angela, no, when you said na meron dapat another envelope yan kasi dapat nandoon papakita sino ba talaga yan kasi it's not naman confidential, you cannot divulge. Ibibigay mo lang yan and that would be opened up to a certain, let's say, guidelines, no? So kung wala silang mas mapakita na ganyan, kung walang resibo, kung sino yan, then again, yung kanilang sinasabi na ay kaya nga confidential, you cannot hide under that mantle, no? Kasi meron nga, kaya kailangan pakinggan natin yung COA. Ano ba ang rules diyan? Kung confidential, paano ba i-divulge diyan? Sino bang makakaalam? Ano ba ang dapat na requirements diyan? So doon natin pakikinggan yan. Kaya nga sana open yung mind natin, yung mga tao natin, natignan, na pakinggan talaga na sana let's go where the evidence leads us.
Well, baka malinawan mo rin kami, you can shed light on this, attorney, because the bigger question here is that why does the Office of the Vice President have confidential funds anyway? And for that matter, DepEd, because the prosecution is also looking at how did they spend yung 612.5 million in just 11 days, mostly in renting safe houses.
Ayun na nga ang tanong dyan kasi nga, prior to her term, wala namang confidential funds ang DepEd at Vice President. If ever meron in the past, it's very minimal. No? Hindi ganito kalaki. So yun ang question dyan. Ano ba yung need? No? At I remember, one of their defenses before, ang sabi nila doon sa confidential funds sa DepEd, tinignan nila yung yung mga corruption within DepEd. Eh, ang tanong ko naman, that's 112 million, I think, no, 37 times 4. Eh, sinong nahuli nila sa 112 million na yan na kanilang sinasabi nila, nag-investigate sila within DepEd. Eh, yung laptop scam, nandyan pa rin. Yung mga issues ng DepEd, andyan pa rin, hindi pa rin solved. No? So, yun ang tanong dyan. Plus, yung Vice President na 500, kasi that's 125 times 4. Yung pang-isa, yung tranches niya, eksakto. 125, 125, 125. Pero kung titignan mo, parang kasi ang confidential funds, technically, that's petty cash. Kunyari, meron kang safe house. Hindi naman mo babayaran yan lahat all at the same time. Plus, may isang safe house na, let's say, 10,000. May isang safe house na 20,000. So, every so often, plus yung pagkain, so much, baka mag-withdraw ka lang today, 1 million. After a few days, 3 million or something like that. Depende sa gastos. Hindi yung 120. Parang may pinaglalaanan na talagang, parang may mortgage, no? Every month may ganon or every quarter may babayaran ka na ganon. Hindi natin, naka-budget na, di ba? Pero kung talagang totoo yan, di ba? It's on a daily and week kasi confidential, di ba? Parang, panggasolina, pangkain, pang-intelligence workout, pambayad. So, hindi yan eksakto na 125 or eksakto na 37.5. So, yun din ang mga question na kailangan nating tanungin. As I said, tingnan natin kung saan ba talaga ginastos, ano ba ang resibo sa paggastos na yan.
Well, speaking of questions na kailangan nating sagutin, Attorney, this impeachment trial, the line between an impeachment trial and a criminal trial often gets blurred, di ba? Kahit ng mga previous hearings. So ano po ba yung tanong na dapat talaga natin sagutin, especially for this one on the misuse of confidential funds? Ano ba yung impeachable offense na kailangan patunayan ng prosecution?
Well, dito, ang kanilang inaano dito, yung loss of public
Betrayal,
public trust, yung tawag dito, I think yung also culpable violation of the Constitution. So, ang tanong dyan is, kung meron pa tayong tiwala, kasi yung loss of trust and confidence, no? Kung meron pa tayong tiwala sa paggasto, kaya nga tinitingnan, kaya nga ang tanong dyan is not more of ano ba yung criminal effect, no? Kasi this is not a criminal case. Pero ang tanong is, yung bang paggastos mo is justified? Yung bang paggastos mo is within our bounds, within our means? Kaya nga sabi ko, may tanong mo kung extravagant ba yan or yung purpose is really for that purpose. So yun ang kailangan natin tanongin. And then, yun din ang tatanungin natin. No? Sabi ko, kaya tignan din natin kasi may mga disallowances sa Office of the Vice President, sa Office of the DepEd Secretary nung siya ay nandiyan. So ang question dyan, kung may disallowance, pagkakatiwalaan pa ba natin siya for that amount of money? And siguro, kung hindi natin pagkakatiwalaan, di maybe there's yung public trust and confidence natin na wala. And then, of course, syempre kung may malversation dyan, di merong culpable violation of the Constitution. Because of course, isa dyan sa ating sinumpaan sa Vice President is sumunod sa ating Constitution, sa ating mga batas, sa ating kasama na dyan yung graft laws natin. So kung meron man silang makitang, unlike yung unang week na eksakto, grave threats na eksakto merong predicate crime. Dito maraming pwedeng pasukin pero hindi naman tinutumbok ito on any predicate crime except that of course there is the misuse of funds which is technically malversation.
Attorney, when it comes to the impeachment court, there are many things happening on the sidelines.
may mga defense judges, lawyers.
So we've also heard manifestations during the impeachment trial that have absolutely nothing to do with the impeachment proceedings itself,
Precisely.
plus the word wars between certain senator judges. It's easy to get distracted. It's easy to end up focusing on, nag-aaway itong dalawang to, instead of processing the information that is laid out during the impeachment proceedings. What do the public need to remember and what do the public need to focus on?
Well, una-una, sabihin ko na rin, yung pag-handle ni Cheese, I think naman medyo so far, okay naman. Although, tama ka dyan, Cheska, na merong mga time na yung away ng mga senador o yung mga issues nila, hindi na dapat yan talaga bringing up in the impeachment court. So sa akin lang, let us put aside yung mga side issues na yan. Let us put aside yung technicalities kasi we should be after the truth. after accountability, after transparency. Kaya ang tanong natin dito, for example, itong article na ito, confidential funds, no? Ano ba ang nature ng confidential funds? Yun yung sasagutin ngayon ng COA. Saan ginastos? Kay nino ginastos? Tama ba ang paggastos? Ano ang purpose ng paggastos? So, yun po yung mga kailangan tingnan natin. Hayaan na natin yung mga issues ni mga Cayetano, Lacson, ni Robin Padilla. I mean, ano yan that's all theatrics if you ask me. But kung talagang titingnan natin, sana himayin natin, sabi ko nga, yung ebidensya. And ito, ang ebidensya dito is, where did the money go? From the money that was already established last week, ang tanong in the next few weeks is, where did the money go? And did the expenses, is it justified?
Well, of course, the impeachment court is quiet on the conducts or behaviors of the senator judges, most specifically Senator Pia Cayetano. We are talking about the spliced video here that is somehow there's a perception it's against the prosecution. So should the impeachment court at least reprimand her or at least call out na mali yung ginawa mo and remind every senator judges that we have to be impartial in the eyes of the public.
Yeah, agree. They should put her on her place, kumbaga ilagay sa pwesto niya. And then, tama, I think to remind her should be okay. Pero yung remind naman did not be in public. Because they call naman a caucus. It can be reminded within closed door, within their caucus, para naman just to put the, kumbaga, respect to the judges. And tama ka rin na pwedeng sabihin na, alam naman natin may kulay yung ibang senador diyan, 'di ba? So pero wag naman obvious, 'di ba? Kasi alam naman natin kung sino yung kumbaga meron diyang tingin natin na alliances, pero meron diyan mga tipong soft, meron diyang hard alliances, may medium. So tingnan natin, pero meron yung obvious na talaga diyan. I mean, everybody knows it, the two Cayetanos and Robin Padilla will never, sa akin whatever evidence you show, I doubt if they will go where the evidence goes because they are already, sa tingin ko lang, in my opinion, politically, kumbaga, committed.
Already made their decision.
Yeah, politically committed to one position or the other.
Per attorney, last week, another big development was the impeachment court granting the subpoena of the financial documents of Vice President Sara Duterte for the article on unexplained wealth. So these documents are already at the Senate. Pero sabi ng defense po, politically motivated. Kasi, President Marcos had to sign this waiver, di ba, allowing the BIR to submit these records. What do you think? And, attorney, yung pagdating sa admissibility, kasi hindi pa nag-rule dyan yung court subpoena lamang Do you think these evidence could be admitted in court?
Well, ganito yan, no? When you submit evidence in court, una muna yung subpoena, no? To bring it to the court. So, number one. Number two, you identify it first. And then, pag pina-authenticate mo sa witness, that is the next, and then formal offer at the end. So, ganun po yung proseso. Now, ang tanong dyan, is it politically motivated? Ang tanong ko naman dyan, yung ebidensya nandyan, wala hong halong politika yan. Plus, kung titignan natin, nangyari na po yan nung panahon ni Corona. Di ba? Nung hiningi yan ni Kim Henares, dating BIR, at pinayagan niya ni Pinoy, wala naman sinabing politically motivated. Bakit ngayon politically motivated? It is the same process. We went through the same process. Plus, bakit nung time na yon out for accountability and transparency si Cayetano? Ngayon sasabihin niya against the law. So, is he hypocrite? Is he contradicting himself? Let the people judge it na lang, no? I mean, nasa sa kanila na yan. So, ang akin lang, walang halong politika. Sabi nga nila, ito sinabi rin ni Duterte nung time niya, kung wala kang kasalanan, anong kinakatakot mo? Kung wala kang tinatago, bakit ayaw mong ilabas? Diba? So, sa akin, it goes back to them. They said all of these things. Plus, the documents does not lie. Yun ang mabigat dito. The BIR, the AMLA, the bank records, the documents there, the numbers will not lie. So, wag nating sabihin na yung 6.7 billion is a lie. Because yun na nga, as you said, there is presumption of regularity. If the AMLA already said it is what was reported to them, so yun ang paninindigan natin. Ngayon, ang tanong, saan galing yan? Saan napunta? O baka may natira? O baka meron pa? Sana all. Sama na tayo.
Well, another topic that was only brought up in the beginning of the impeachment proceedings was the threshold. Presiding Officer Chase established that it would be 16. But the prosecution has already finished presenting their witnesses for Article 4. We're already going through Article 1. Why do you think we haven't heard anyone filing for a petition or manifestation regarding the threshold?
Well, kasi to me, yung sinabi ni Senator Chis is not yet a resolution of the court. To me, it appears to be his opinion on the matter because hindi naman nila pinagbotohan yan. No? Although it's on the record. So tingin ko it's not up for the Supreme Court yet. It's not yet a justifiable judicial issue for them to decide. No? Plus, paano yan, Cheska, kung bumoto ng, let's say, 17? Would it even matter? Paano kung bumoto yan ng 10? Would it even matter? Diba? So, siguro magmamatter lang yan kung 14 o 15 ang boto. Kasi doon mo titignan yung count kung sino ba talaga ang kasama or not. Or depende kung meron pang 5 makulong sa kanila, baka bumaba pa yan, di ba? So, pero sa akin, it would only count once there is a vote. Kasi doon mo titignan, what does the conviction mean? Kunyari, if it is 17, so there's no issue. Pero what if it was 14, for example? Then maybe the prosecution will say, oy, dapat convicted. Kasi less
21.
Less the one suspended and less Bato, etc. and whoever, no? So then that can be a question. Even us as individuals, being taxpayers, I think we can bring that up to the court. Now, there is a question now. Kasi kung na-question nila Jinggoy at saka ni Marcoleta yung kanilang if they can participate or not. So maybe if that goes to the Supreme Court, maybe that can clarify what does their suspension mean. So if that is not a question of whether 14 or 16, that is a question is what is the meaning of suspension. So if that can be decided na saying suspended ka, you are not to participate, wala lahat yan, etc., etc., baka hindi sila kasama doon sa 16. Pero kung sinabing suspended ka, pero the following are still your rights and privileges and obligations, baka kasama ka sa 16. So I think, kung yan pumasok sa Supreme Court, that is something na pwede natin bantayan. Kasi for now, nasa sandigan bayan yung issue na yan. So pwede natin iakyat yan at tignan kung sinong hindi satisfied sa decision na yon later on. So we can clarify that, or kahit tayo as individuals, once it's in the Supreme Court, we can file an intervention if need be.
Well, very quick na lang before we throw it over to the impeachment today, you're a very known litigator in the law industry. No? How did the prosecution fare on the article of impeachment 1?
Well, impeachment 1, if you ask me for the elements of grave threats and inciting to sedition, maganda yung pagkalatag nila. They have shown the elements to be present. Plus, ang nakakatawa dito, the utterance was even admitted by the defense. So there is nothing for them to prove kasi even the defense already proved their case for them. Ang question lang dyan is it culpable violation? Kasi kung grave threats, tingin ko, criminally, it's there. It should be a conviction for grave threats. But is it impeachable? Yan ang tanong. Di ba? Is it culpable violation? Is it betrayal of public trust? So does it amount to that? Does all crime amount to betrayal of public trust? That is, I think, what they should answer. That is what they should hurdle as the prosecution panel. Sa akin, kasi nga, klarong-klaro naman, kahit naman ako ngayon, if I threat all three of you, medyo, di ba? Nakakatakot yan. Tapos now we are threatening the president. Medyo talagang malabo yun. Plus, she has the advantage because siya yung mag-gain kasi siya ang vice president di ba? So, kitang-kita naman if I were a betting man, I would bet on the presentation of the prosecution.
All right. Well, on that note, marami pa tayong aabangan sa impeachment trial. So for now, thank you very much, Attorney Rafi, for sharing your insights with us. Again, that was litigation lawyer and law professor, Attorney Howard Calleja. The impeachment trial is now underway. Let's watch this.
Sa aming pagtalakay at paghatol sa impeachment ng aming Vice Presidente. Alisin mo sa aming mga puso ang anumang pansariling damdamin o pag-aalinlangan upang magampanan namin ang aming katungkulan ng may ganap na pagiging patas, walang kinikilingan at ayon sa katotohanan at batas. Gabayan mo ang lahat ng kalahok sa paglilitis, ang depensa, ang prosekusyon, ang bawat testigo at ang bawat senador hukom. Pagkalooban mo kami ng lakas, katatagan at integridad upang maisagawa namin ang aming kanya-kanyang tungkulin ng may dangal at pananagutan. Patawarin mo kami sa aming pagkukulang at pagkakasala. Patuloy mo kaming akayin sa landas ng katarungan at kabutihan para sa aming bayan. Magpadala po kayo ng maraming anghel ng katotohanan at ilayo sa amin ang pagpapakalat ng kasinungalingan. Ito ang aming dalangin sa ngalan ni Jesus. Amen.
The clerk of court will now call the roll.
Roll call of members. Senator Judge Aquino. Senator Judge Cayetano Alan. Senator Judge Cayetano Pia. Senator Judge De La Rosa. Senator Judge Ejercito. Senator Judge Estrada. Senator Judge Go. Senator Judge Ontiveros. Senator Judge Lacson. Senator Judge Lapid. Senator Judge Legarda. Senator Judge Marcoleta. Senator Judge Marcos. Senator Judge Padilla. Senator Judge Pangilinan. Senator Judge Soto III. Senator Judge Tulfo Erwin. Senator Judge Tulfo Rafi. Senator Judge Villanueva. Senator Judge Villar Camille. Senator Judge Villar Mark. Senator Judge Zubiri. The presiding officer, Senator Judge Escudero. Senate President Gatchalian.
With 16 senator judges present, the chair declares the presence of a quorum. In accordance with the rules of procedure on impeachment trials, the chair now recognizes the duly elected presiding officer to preside over the proceedings of the impeachment court.
Thank you, Mr. Senate President. If there are no objections, we shall dispense with the reading of the Journal of July 29, 2026 of the Senate sitting as an impeachment court and shall consider the same as approved. The clerk of court will please call the case before the impeachment court.
Case number 004-2026 in the matter of impeachment trial of Vice President Sara Zimmerman Duterte.
Appearances for the parties.
Good morning, Your Honor. Same appearance for the prosecution. We are ready, Your Honor.
Thank you and good morning. Appearances for the respondent.
Good morning, Your Honor. Same appearance for the respondent accused. Thank you, Your Honor.
Will the lead prosecutor kindly call their witness for today?
Your Honor, may I request that counsel for the panel of prosecutors, Attorney Lorna Kapunan, be recognized.
Attorney Kapunan is recognized. Attorney Kapunan, the counsel for the panel of prosecutors, kindly call your first witness, ma'am.
Good morning, Your Honors. Attorney Lorna Patao Kapunan, counsel for the petitioners under the direct control and supervision of the House panel of prosecutors. We'd like to call on our first witness, Your Honors, Mr. Roderick C. Wamil.
The clerk of court, through Sergeant Terms, is directed to kindly bring and situate at the witness stand the witness of the prosecution for today, Mr. Roderick Wamil. Before you sit down, Mr. Ramil, Clerk of Court is directed to subscribe the witness, or rather put the witness under oath. Apologies.
Please raise your right hand. You, Roderick C. Wamil, do swear that the evidence you shall give in the case now pending between the Philippines and Vice President Sara Zimmerman Duterte shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help you God.
You may sit down, Mr. Ramil. Your witness, counsel for the panel of prosecutors, Attorney Kapunan, you may proceed when you're ready with your offer.
Thank you, Your Honor. But before we proceed, senators, honorable senators and presiding officer, may we flash on the screen page 2 of the pretrial order dated 29 June 2026. Please note from the screen that several admitted facts are stated in the said pretrial order. I call your attention, please, to page 2 of the pretrial order. These are the admitted facts for Article 1 on the misuse and misappropriation of confidential funds. I will not read them anymore, but I'd like to highlight certain admissions.
The lady may proceed for the guidance of the senator judges.
Thank you, Your Honor. As can be seen from the screen, first, the OVP, Office of the Vice President, had confidential funds in the fixed amount of 125 per quarter. The first quarter of 2023 is February 6 to March 29, 2023. For the second quarter of 2023, that is April 25 to June 30, 2023, and for the third quarter of 2023, which covers the period July 14 to September 30, 2023. Fixed amounts per quarter of 125 million.
You're referring to paragraph numbers 2.5, 2.6, and 2.7, counsel.
Yes, Your Honor.
You may proceed.
Also admitted is the fact that Gina Acosta was the Office of the Vice President's Special Disbursing Officer, or SDO, in relation to the OVP's confidential funds for the fourth quarter of 2022, as well as the first, second, and third quarters of 2023, as can be seen on the screen. May I ask counsel for the respondent?
We confirm that, Your Honor.
Thank you, counsel. Likewise, Your Honor, this honorable court presiding officer will recall that in the hearing last Wednesday, several stipulations were made by both parties, and in fact, upon the initiative of Attorney Poa, counsel for the respondent. May I just remind this court what these are, and they will be flashed on the screen for the better appreciation of this honorable court. Both the prosecution and the respondent agreed last Wednesday's hearing to the following stipulations. First, that the OVP issued 4 checks, all in the name of Gina F. Acosta, worth 125 million each on December 20, 2022, January 31, 2023, April 18, 2023, and July 13, 2023. Second, that these said amounts were paid by the Philippine Treasury for the account of the Office of the Vice President. Third, that Ms. Gina Acosta received the amounts of the said checks on December 20, 2022, February 6, 2023, April 25, 2023, April 10, 2023, and July 11, 2023. Likewise stipulated, Your Honor, that the said amounts were paid by the Philippine Treasury for the account.
Counsel,
Yes,
with respect to the last check, what was the date of encashment? You mentioned July 11, or is it July 16? Or should it be July 16? Kindly check your records. Because the encashment cannot be before the date of the check.
respondent. What is it?
Kindly check the last check. Last 3 digits, 664. Council mentioned that it was encashed on July 11, 2023.
Come on, guys.
It should be, if I remember correctly, it should be July 16. Kindly check the dorsal side of the check.
Encashment. For the account of the Department of Education Office of the Secretary. And lastly, that Mr. Edward D. Fajarda received the amounts of the checks on February 22, 2023, April 26, 2023, and July 13, 2023, which amounts to 112.5 million, Your Honors. May we ask counsel for respondent to confirm this?
Your Honors, I really don't want to make a big issue about this, but just on the first stipulation, Your Honors, please. We remember stipulating only as to the ability of the witness to identify the checks and to the authenticity
Of the checks.
of the checks. Now, I do understand where the counsel for the prosecution is coming from, but perhaps we could just refer to our records in terms of the stipulations made, Your Honors.
The presiding officer remembers that the authenticity and execution of the checks, as well as all the information contained therein, meaning to say the signatories, the payee, the amount contained therein, the date it was encashed, were all stipulated to by the respondent. In not so many words, counsel, you are correct.
Yes, Your Honor. As a matter of fact, not only the front side of the check, but the dorsal side.
Including the dorsal side, meaning to say the checker, the validator, the...
Yes, Your Honors.
Yes, they were all stipulated to by the respondent. You are
Thank
correct,
you,
counsel.
Mr. Presiding Officer. And lastly, Your Honors, please. As you can see in front of you, we have 15 boxes. 15 boxes of confidential funds. For this witness alone, he will be identifying 50 exhibits.
Are you proceeding with your offer already, counsel?
No, Your Honor. This is in addition to our proposed stipulation, Your Honor.
Yes, okay. Proceed.
Okay. This witness will be identifying 50 exhibits. The acknowledgement receipts alone for the fourth quarter of the Office of the Vice President will be 845 documents, Your Honor. And not to preempt testimony of the next witness, this next witness will attest to 3,664 documents, of which 3,617 are acknowledgement receipts, Your Honor. My proposed stipulation, Your Honor, since most of these documents, Your Honor, are not documents from the prosecution. These documents are the liquidation documents submitted by the Office of the Vice President and the Department of Education Secretary to liquidate the 500 million confidential funds of the Office of the President and the 116.5 million of the DepEd, Your Honor. Just to emphasize, Your Honor, these are common exhibits. And if counsel, we can flash them on the screen. Most of these are common exhibits. For the Office of the Vice President, we have 14 common exhibits for the period December 21 to 31. For the first quarter of 2023, there are 6 common exhibits, 6 common exhibits as well for the second quarter of 2023, and 5 common exhibits for the Office of the Vice President, Your Honor. And this is a total of 31 common exhibits, Your Honor. For the DepEd, Your Honor, we have 6 common exhibits for the first quarter, 7 common exhibits for the second quarter, and 6 common exhibits for the third quarter, Your Honor. And here is where we ask for stipulation, Your Honor. Since these are prosecution exhibits as well as defense exhibits, and in addition to that, these are documents submitted by the defense themselves to the COA by way of liquidation, Your Honor. May we request for stipulations? For the appreciation of the senator judges and the presiding judge, flashed on the screen are the exhibits we want stipulated, the prosecution exhibit numbers, and the defense exhibit numbers, Your Honor.
These are only insofar as the common exhibits are concerned, Counsel.
Yes, Your Honor. These are only common exhibits.
What does the respondent, counsel for respondent, say?
Your Honor, may we just ask for, and I apologize for having to request for this, but may we just ask for at least a 5-minute suspension so we can also concur with the prosecution panel and to check exactly what documents they would want to stipulate. Because, Your Honors, we have no problem stipulating, but we also, due to the voluminous nature of the documents, we just want to make sure we're also ensuring the rights for clients, especially if there are questions on chain of custody, etc.
With the permission of my fellow senator
Just
judges,
5 minutes.
this is in the interest of abbreviating the proceedings anyway. Chair declares a 5-minute recess.
Thank you, Your Honors. The physical exhibits are here if counsel wants to look at them. So.
We are on recess. No need for permission to approach each other.
Hello. Hello, hello. Hello, hello.
Better? Better than this.
It is day 11 of the impeachment proceedings versus Vice President Sara Duterte, and we have Attorney Lorna Kapunan as the lead counsel for the prosecution, who will be conducting the direct examination of COA State Auditor Roderick Wamil. But prior to the direct examination, Attorney Lorna Kapunan initially asked the court to display page 2 of the pretrial order from June 29, 2026 to show the agreed upon stipulations or agreed upon and admitted facts on Article 1, and the defense agreed. So this is laying the foundation of direct examination. She presented the stipulations that the defense agreed upon last week. The additional stipulations from the defense would be that the DepEd issued 3 checks in the name of Edward Fajardo worth 37.5 million pesos each, that the said amounts were paid by Philippine Treasury for the account of the DepEd Office of the Secretary, that Mr. Edward Fajardo received the amount totaling 112.5 million pesos, that the OVP issued 4 checks in the name of Gina Acosta worth 125 million each, that the said amounts were paid by the Philippine Treasury for the account of the OVP, and that Gina Acosta received the amount totaling 500 million pesos. And Attorney Lorna Kapunan also said that they have 15 boxes of confidential funds that Wamil will be able to testify about and identify the 50 exhibits. Attorney Lorna Kapunan also explained that the documents are not from the prosecution itself. These are liquidation documents submitted by the OVP and the Department of Education when it comes to the confidential funds. And right now, there is a 5-minute recess called by Presiding Officer Chiz Escudero for the defense to check the documents brought by the prosecution. And right now, the impeachment court is still in recess to give the defense time to review documents submitted. But we are going to our mobile journalist, Merimon Reyes, who is at the Senate impeachment hearing right now. Merimon, ano ang mga updates for us?
Cheska, ngayon, hinintay pa natin yung pagpapatuloy ng impeachment trial proceeding kasi kanina, nung ipinresenta na ni Counsel for the Prosecution or prosecutors netong si Attorney Lorna Capunan, ang kanilang testigo for today mula sa COA, pinapastipulate nila, kumbaga mag-agree ang defense na i-authenticate, i-validate o kikilalanin i-identify nitong COA official, yung mga exhibit. At karamihan nga lang doon, napakarami. Kasi sinasabi, may 15 na boxes daw ng confidential funds. Itong witness na i-identify, 50 exhibits siya. At doon pa lang sa acknowledgement receipts para sa fourth quarter ng Office of the Vice President, 845 documents ito. Doon naman sa acknowledgement receipts lang din, 3,617 out of 3,664 documents. So ang pinopropose nila, dahil ito naman daw mga dokumentong ito, ay sinumiti rin ng OVP tsaka ng DepEd, ng Secretary anong panahon na yan, 2022, 2023, para raw sa liquidation, pinadala raw ito ng defense, so nais sila stipulate, kumbaga, mag-agree na yung defense na sa dami nitong mga dokumentong ito, ayan sila. Pero humingi nga lang si Attorney Michael Powa ng oras dahil sa dami raw nung mga dokumento, i-ensure lang muna nila na maobserbahan pa rin daw yung karapatan at yung due process in case lang napapayag na sila na mag-stipulate. Cheska.
Merimon, we've seen even in the previous article that was tackled, may mga efforts naman to speed up the trial. But with documents of this number, 3,000 documents, yun na nga nabanggit na yung acknowledgement receipts for the fourth quarter alone, 845 documents. Meron pa bang ibang paraan para mapabilis?
Cheska, dito kasi sa article of impeachment na ito, nasa 30 days talaga yung nilaan, na trial days na nilaan na prosecution panel. Prosecution pa lang yan. Iba pa yung kapag dumating naman yung panahon na yung defense naman na magpe-present ang kanilang witnesses, pati documentary evidence. So ang sinasabi naman, while 13 witnesses ang naka-line up sa prosecution for this specific article of impeachment alleging the misuse of public funds or confidential funds amounting to 612.5 billion pesos from both the DepEd and the OVP, ang sabi naman ng prosecution, pwede naman daw nilang hindi i-present lahat ng kanilang witnesses if in case lang na yung allegations nila ay mabubuo na base sa lesser or fewer testimonies o kaya naman ay documentary evidence. Ito yung nangyari last time tungkol doon sa article of impeachment pertaining sa alleged threat o yung plot laban sa first couple at sa dating House Speaker. So instead na may mga isasalang pa sila dahil naging cohesive naman na raw, connected na at iiwasan na yung redundancy, binawasan na yung testimonies last time. Natapos na sila kay NBI Director Melvin Matibag.
Well, Merimon, today we're going to hear from former COA State Auditor Roderick Wamil. Ano ang ini-expect natin na makukuha ng prosecution from his testimony?
Just if last time tinraise na prosecution, una muna, how the money moved from the National Treasury to cash withdrawals or yung papunta doon sa Special Disbursing Officer ng OVP pati ng DepEd. Ngayon, the prosecution will be shifting its focus on how the VP's alleged confidential funds were spent and liquidated as it presents or as they will be presenting two COA officials, pati isa mula sa House of Representatives, isang records custodian. And ang nakaschedule for today, ito nga si State Auditor Roderick Wamil, former State Auditor ng COA's Intelligence and Confidential Funds Office. Bukas, nakatakda naman si State Auditor Celine May del Campo. And supposedly for Wednesday, ang nakaschedule naman itong si House Legislative Information Resources Management Department Director Marivic Pareha. So yan yung nakaschedule for the week. Depende na lamang yan kung mabibitin ba o kukulangin sa oras once na mag-start naman ang cross-examination ng defense for this day. Cheska.
Merimon, sinabi nga may 13 witnesses na nakalista ang prosecution for Article 1 pero sinabi naman nila na may chance na iksian ang listahan kung makayanan ng ma-establish yung allegations through fewer testimonies and documentary evidence. Pero may nasabi din sila na may naka-line up na reserve witnesses with expertise yung sa confidential and intelligence fund operations na nabanggit nga ni Senator Ping Lacson last week din. Meron ba tayong mga balita kung sino-sino yung mga ito?
Cheska, kung babalikan kasi natin last time, nung nag-pre-trial briefing muna itong prosecution pati defense, dyan na pumasok yung usapan na may reserved witnesses, kung magkakaroon pa ba sila ng mga surprise, quote-unquote, surprise witnesses, pero tinatawag nila reserved witnesses ito. And yung sinasabi ng prosec at defense, hindi malabo, hindi imposible pero hindi muna nila dinidisclose yung information lalo kung may concern sila on security, baka may ma-compromise pagdating sa pagkakakilanlan nitong kanilang reserve witnesses. And usually ang nangyayari by the end of the impeachment trial week, every Wednesday yan usually, ang prosecution nililinaw nila kung sino naman yung mga ipapatawag nila for next week. Ito yung 5 days supposedly pero naging 3 days na lang din na disclosure para malaman naman ng defense kung sino ang ipapatawag nilang tetestigo for the next impeachment trial week. So same din naman yun sa defense kapag sila naman yung magpe-present. Ngayon, kung kunwari Wednesday ngayon, okay, ipapaalam na nila sa impeachment court kung sino naman ang ipapatawag nila for the next trial week. Cheska.
Pero tomorrow, are we expecting Celine May del Campo and then after that, si Ms. Marivic Pareja?
Tama, Cheska. Yun yung nakaschedule so far. Pwera na lamang kung magkakaroon ng ibang plano ang prosecution. But then again, kailangan maging malinaw dahil nga may sinusunod sila na bilang ng araw. Hindi pwede yung biglaan na lamang o basta-basta nilang ipapatawag itong tetestigo. Yun nga yung napagkasunduan ng prosec pati ng defense. Kaya ang sinasabi ng impeachment court dito, every end of the trial week ngayon, ipapaalam ninyo sino ang ipapatawag for next week. Yan yung naging issue rin last time noong minanifest ng prosecution kung maaaring mapaaga yung pagte-testify ni NBI Director Melvin Matibag. Dahil sinasabi naman din ng defense, even ang senator judges, maapektuhan yung time, yung sa senator judges, yung pag-aaral nila doon sa documentary evidence, yung mga ibabato nilang tanong. Sa defense naman, yung nagiging daloy din ng kanilang cross-examination. Lahat ng mga yun maapektuhan. Yun yung silbi, kaya mayroong set day din para ipaalam din ng prosec kung magkakaroon sila ng changes sa mga ipapatawag nila.
All right, thank you so much, mobile journalist Mary Monreyes. At this point, let's check the latest from the prosecution. We have mobile journalist Amy Atienza joining us. Amy, what do you have for us?
Yes, Jessica. Earlier today, I had a talk with prosecution spokesperson Representative Zia Alonto Adiong. At yun nga, nasabi niya kanina na parang big bang yung mangyayari, lalo na dahil nga itong confidential funds na usapin na ipapresenta nga din ng prosecution ay mayroong 15 boxes kung saan doon naglalaman yung documents para nga maipakita at maipresenta mismo ng prosecution team yung misuse of confidential funds ni Vice President Sara Duterte. Ngayon, inaasahan natin si former COA State Auditor for ICFAO na si Mr. Roderick Wamil para nga magsilbi bilang testigo dito nga sa confidential funds si Vice President Sara Duterte. Ang very crucial daw kasi dito ay makita din yung mga naipasang liquidation reports ng Office of the Vice President at Department of Education sa Commission on Audit para nga makita na may misuse of confidential funds doon sa mga opisina ni Vice President Sara Duterte. So ngayon inaasahan natin, Cheska, na medyo magiging mas mahaba yung magiging daloy nito in comparison to what we have seen during the first day of the presentation of confidential funds from the prosecution. So yun pa yung inaasahan natin na magiging lengthy itong presentation ng prosecution pagdating nga dito sa notice of disallowances and also the documents in relation to the confidential funds of VP Sara.
Amy, last week nakita natin yung former Land Bank branch managers, Villeta Constantino and Nanita Camposano. Ano yung mga na-establish ng prosecution with these two witnesses that enabled them to move forward to Roderick Wamil? At ano ang kailangan nilang ma-establish with Roderick?
Yes, Jessica, kung nakita nga natin no first day na presentation of confidential funds from the prosecution, ay doon nakita yung mga resibo kung saan nga may 4 checks from the Office of the Vice President amounting to 125 million pesos per check, na total of 500 million pesos. Habang doon naman sa other witness for the debt end naman of the confidential funds of Vice President Sara Duterte, inabot ito ng 112.5 million pesos with 3 checks of 32.5 million pesos each. So yun yung nakita nila, and unusual nga daw kasi gayong ganitong kalaking amount of confidential funds na ini-encash from the Office of the Vice President, and of course also for the Department of Education. Kaya yun daw yung nasasabi nila na parang appetizer pa lang, no? This is just the start of where things are gonna go for the confidential funds dahil meron pa namang 30 trial dates, this one included for the presentation of the prosecution for confidential funds. So, ang nasasabi nila, mas marami pang documents na maaaring may present dito, and also for the cruciality of this, no, Cheska, nabanggit din kanina na medyo nagko-coincide nga din ito, no, doon sa naging testimony or doon sa affidavit na nai-present ni Ramil Madriaga when he served as a resource person for the House Justice Committee noong nagkaroon ng pagdinig sa Kamara kung saan nga sinasabi na itong 125 million pesos na confidential funds si Vice President Sara Duterte ay disposed not just in 11 days but just in less than 24 hours. So yun pa yung titingnan nila, ano pa nga ba yung mga naratibo na maaaring mabuo, lalo na dahil nga naniniwala itong prosecution, no, na meron ngang misuse of confidential funds from Vice President Sara Duterte.
Amy, nung kakasimula pa lang ng Day 11, si Attorney Lorna Capunan nag-lay out na nung additional stipulations that the defense agreed on, yung that DepEd issued 3 checks in the name of Edward Fajarda, and then yung OVP issued 4 checks in the name of Gina Acosta. Why was it important to lay that out right in the beginning? Ano yung purpose ng prosecution doon?
Cheska, for the actual explanation, no, we'll get that later on. Pero nakita din kasi natin, no, during the trial, ay pinaresenta muna nila yung pre-trial order kung saan nga merong mga ganitong kalalaking amounts na na-encash ang Office of the Vice President at Department of Education para nga doon sa article ng confidential funds, no. At kanina nasabi na meron silang added stipulations na nanggaling nga doon sa former land bank managers kung saan sinasabi na itong 4 checks na named under Gina Acosta ay merong mga particular dates of encashment, and this was also released or received by the Office of the Vice President from the Philippine Treasury. So nag-a-amount nga din ito to a total of 500 million pesos, habang yung other stipulations pa na nadagdag ay yun nga 3 checks with 32.5 million pesos na received then from the Philippine Treasury na nag-a-amount naman sa 112.5 million pesos, and this all sums up to 612.5 million pesos of confidential funds na allegedly ay misused nga by the Office of the Vice President and the Department of Education. So technically, ang purpose nito ay para lang din, no, ma-layout, no, ng prosecution kung ano nga ba yung mga dagdag pa na masasabi nating evidence or part of their presentation para nga mas mabuo yung sinasabi nilang ebidensya na nais nilang ipresenta pagdating dito sa trial.
All right, thank you so much, mobile journalist Amy Atienza. And now we go back to the Senate impeachment trial live. This is day 11 of Vice President Sara Duterte's impeachment trial in the Senate, and it is currently on recess called by Presiding Officer Chase Escudero for the defense team to review some documents. Right now, we are joined by mobile journalist Arles de los Santos, who will give us the latest on the defense's preparations. Arles?
Cheska, sa ngayon ay so far nasa loob pa nga ng Senate Impeachment Court ang defense team ni Vice President Sara Duterte, kung saan ay nag-i-stipulate nga sila o tinitingnan yung mga dokumento na ipepresenta nga ng prosekusyon. So far, Cheska, yung mga dokumento na ito ay mga confidential at intelligence funds ng Office of the Vice President, kasama nga dyan yung umano'y libo-libong mga acknowledgement receipts. So pinagtutugma-tugma pa nila yan kasi so far nakita natin noong nakaraang linggo ay kinumpirma naman ng defense team ni Vice President Sara Duterte yung so far ay existence ng mga cheque na in-encash ng Special Disbursement Officer ng OVP maging na DepEd. So ngayon napupunta na sila doon sa susunod na stage, yung pag-check nga ng mga dokumento na ipepresenta at ibe-verifika ng isa sa mga COA auditors ng bansa. Hindi pa tayo nakakarinig, Cheska, ng mga spesipiko ng mga paghahanda ng defense team ni Vice President Sara Duterte kaugnay ng panibagong linggo ng kanyang impeachment trial. Pero ayon kay Attorney Michael Poa, ngayong linggo posible nga na maging mas masusi ito at mas maging mahaba-haba yung tanungan dahil napaka-teknikal, lalo pa at Commission on Audit na ang susunod na ipepresenta na testigo ng prosekusyon.
Arles, yung initial na tawag na recess ni Presiding Officer Chase Escudero was 5 minutes. Parang naka 20 minutes na yata. Meron ba tayong updates kung mga gaano pa katagal ang kailangan?
Hindi pa natin masasabi, Cheska, kung gaano pa katagal yung kailangan, pero yung pagbibigay ng 5 minutes kanina na recess, inasahan na natin na medyo maikli yun, kasi nabanggit naman ni lead private prosecutor, Lorna Kapunan, na libo-libo nga yung mga dokumento yung kailangan i-stipulate o cross-check ng magkabilang panig, kasama na nga dyan partikular yung list of documents mula sa Department of Education para sa taong 2022 at 2023. And kabukod dyan, Cheska, syempre, sisiguraduhin din kasi ng depensa na yung mga dokumento na ito, bago nila i-stipulate, ay meron nga sila talagang record nito. So hindi pa natin sigurado kung magtatapos sa ba agad anytime at magbabalik sa trial proper itong impeachment trial ngayong araw.
Pero Arles, sabi kasi kanina ni Attorney Lorna Kapunan na may 15 boxes ng documents on confidential funds. At si Wamil magte-testify or mag-identify ng 50. So ang inaaral ba nila ngayon yung 50?
Sa ngayon, Cheska, ang alam natin ay yung laman ng 15 boxes na meron ng mga dokumento, libo-libo yun mga acknowledgement receipt for OVP and Department of Education, yun yung so far na alam natin ay ini-stipulate nila ngayon. Or maybe not stipulate, but at least cross-check ng magkabilang panig bago tanggapin for stipulation naman ng defense team.
Pero hindi naman siguro yung 15 boxes yung aaralin ngayong recess,
May possibility, Cheska, na yun yung inaaral nila or ang makikita natin posible mangyari dito para umusad yung trial. For kunwari, first box muna, first 2 box or first 3 box, and then they will proceed. And then the next 4 box to 7 box until mag-reach ng 15, kasi para umusad yon. And so far sa mga korte talaga at mga paglilitis, kailangan isa-isahin na salansanin at silipin at siguraduhin na kumpleto yung mga dokumento. So let's see kung meron ba silang gagawin dyan. Kasi so far makikita natin sa screen natin yung mga representative mula sa defense team ni VP Sara, nandun sinisilip pa din yung mga dokumento mula nga sa panig ng prosekusyon. At halos lahat sila kanina ay tumuyo at sinilip nga yung mga dokumento na ito.
Once this moves on to the testimony of Roderick Wamil, last week kasi yung defense hindi sila nag-cross-examine, pero this week even for today for Roderick Wamil, are we expecting a cross-examination from the defense?
Nakadepende pa yan, Cheska, sa takbo ng prosekusyon, ng presentasyon ng testigo ng prosekusyon. Masyado pang maaga para sabihin kung magkukross sila or hindi. No? Basta yung nakuha lang natin kay Attorney Michael Powa last week, mahaba-haba daw at mas madugo itong presentasyon ng COA witness dahil nga mas maraming mga dokumento yung titignan dito. No? At kabukod dyan, Cheska, meron kasi din mga reports no, na merong mga notice of disallowances yung OVP at DepEd no, na syempre kailangan din silipin at timbangin ng mga senator judges. At syempre, kabukod doon sa notice of disallowances, syempre, nice din malaman ng ating mga senator judges kung paano nga pa ino-audit yung mga confidential at intelligence funds, paano nasisigurado na tama itong nagagamit, tama itong na-account. So ayun yung mga aasahan pa natin na tanungin. Though, yung pagtatanong naman ng ating mga senator judges ay sa pagtapos pa no, ng unang bahagi ng presentation of witness as cross-examination, and typically bago magtapos ang trial ng impeachment court sila nagtatanong. So ayun yung pwede nating asahan dito.
All right, thank you, mobile journalist Arles de los Santos. And now we go back live to the Senate.
The trial is resumed. Paumanhin sa mga kapwa ko Senator Judge, gayon din sa publiko nagsusubaybay sa medyo mahabang panahong ginugol natin para magkomparahan ng dokumento. I assure you this is time well spent because whatever stipulations and or admissions may be agreed upon by the parties will go a long way insofar as abbreviating the proceedings. Counsel for respondent is recognized for his comment to the request for stipulation by the counsel for the panel of prosecutors.
Thank you, Your Honor. And Your Honor, I would like to thank the Honorable Court for your patience as well. So upon consulting with my colleagues as well as the opposing counsel, the defense is willing to stipulate on the list of documents provided except for the acknowledgement receipts for the period covering December 21 to 31, 2022. Because one...
what period is that again, counsel?
Acknowledgement receipts for the period covering December 21 to 31, 2022, Your Honor.
December 21 to 22?
To 31, 2022.
To 12/31, 2022.
Yes, that's correct. December 21 to December 31, 2022. That's
Okay.
correct, Your Honors. Your Honors, just for the information of the Honorable Court, although these were labeled as common exhibits, we marked them separately, and there are issues concerning these acknowledgement receipts that I believe will also be touched upon by other witnesses in the future, and for those reasons, Your Honors, we cannot stipulate on the same.
How many pieces of documentary evidence would constitute these acknowledgement receipts covering this period, approximately?
Approximately at least 900, Your Honors.
So that's about 900 over 3,000 plus, counsel for the panel of prosecutors, correct?
Your Honor, please, just a logistics issue. I don't think they can hear us at the sound booth po.
Who can't hear you?
The ones flashing our screen. Are they okay? Okay. Just to address the query of the Honorable Presiding Judge, Your Honor, the acknowledgement receipts constitute 845 documents, Your Honor, for this particular witness and for this particular period, Your Honor. But for the next witness, Your Honor, they constitute 3,617 acknowledgement receipts.
In regard to the acknowledgement receipts that the counsel for respondent refuses to stipulate on, is it with this witness or the next witness?
This witness, Your Honor, 845 acknowledgement receipts for the period, 11-day period, December 21 to December 31, Your Honor.
So, in other words, all of the acknowledgement receipts that this witness will testify to was not stipulated to by the counsel for the respondent.
That's correct, Your Honor.
With respect to the others, it is so stipulated, counsel?
Yes, Your Honors. Other documents, you mean? Yes.
Other documents that
On the
are
list.
commonly marked are so stipulated and admitted by the counsel for respondents? Under Article 1?
The documents that are in the list of
Yes.
proposed stipulations, Your Honors.
Duly noted.
Thank you, Your Honors.
Counsel for the panel of prosecutors, you may proceed when you're ready with your offer. Unless you have other stipulations to ask
We
for.
have other stipulations, Your Honor.
You may proceed, counsel.
Secondly, that the office of the Vice President was allotted confidential funds in the amount of 125 million in December of 2022.
We are okay to stipulate with counter stipulation that this was approved by the Office of the President as recommended by the DBM, Your Honor.
What does counsel for the panel of prosecutors state?
No, Your Honor. Yes. Yes, Your Honor.
So yes.
In deference to the President. Yes, Your Honor.
So yes, the stipulation, proposed stipulation by the counsel for the panel of prosecutors, subject to the qualification of the counsel for respondent, is deemed admitted to and stipulated on. May proceed, counsel.
Thirdly, Your Honor, as can be seen on the screen, the DepEd was allotted confidential funds in the fixed amount of 37.5 million quarterly.
For what year? For what period?
2023, Your Honor.
Counsel for the respondent?
Yes, Your Honor.
34?
But again, with counter stipulation that under the General Appropriations Act, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
So stipulated, duly noted, Senator judges are duly informed.
That the fourth stipulation is that the Office of the Vice President and the DepEd withdrew their respective confidential funds quarterly allocation in full from the first to the third quarters of 2023.
Counsel for the respondent, what do you say?
We are willing to stipulate on that, Your Honor.
So stipulated, Senator judges are likewise so informed of the stipulation by the parties in regard to this fact.
The fifth, that the Office of the Vice President also received confidential funds in the amount of 125 million on December 20, 2022, which it used up in 11 days.
No
Counsel-
stipulation, Your Honor.
I'm sorry, counsel?
No stipulation on this matter.
No stipulation. You may proceed with the other proposed stipulations, counsel.
That the documents submitted by the Office of the Vice President and the DepEd were all signed by the authorized signatories.
Willing to stipulate, Your Honor.
What exactly does that mean, counsel for the panel of prosecutors? The documents submitted by the OVP were all signed by the authorized signatories, meaning those that signed the checks, those that received the checks. What about the acknowledgement receipts?
Also the acknowledgement receipts, Your Honor. The disbursement vouchers, the liquidation reports,
Including
the
the...
accomplishment reports, all of which they have already stipulated, Your Honor.
Okay. Is that clear, counsel for the respondent?
Yes, Your Honor.
So stipulated, duly noted.
Number 7, that the signatures above the names Gina Acosta, Julieta Villa del Rey, and Rosalyn Sanchez in the Office of the Vice President documents are their signatures.
We are willing to stipulate on that, Your Honor.
And lastly, Your
So
Honor,
stipulated, duly noted.
that the signatures above the names Edward Fajarda, Maria Runa Catalan, Annalyn Sevilla, and Gloria Humamil Mercado in the DepEd liquidation documents are their signatures.
Willing to stipulate on that as well, Your
So
Honor.
stipulated, duly noted.
Thank you, and we would like to thank counsel for the respondent for
Thank you, Your Honor.
the stipulations.
We would like to
and,
thank the parties as well for abbreviating the proceedings and assisting this court insofar as shortening.
I think it has saved the Senate judges 10 boxes, Your Honor.
How many in total again?
We have 15 boxes, Your Honor.
That's two-thirds. Good enough.
Two-thirds.
Counsel may proceed with her offer for the testimony of this witness unless there are other stipulations. If there are none, you may proceed, counsel, when you're ready.
Your Honors, please, we are offering the testimony of Mr. Roderick C. Wamil to prove the following. First, that Mr. Wamil was a state auditor of the Commission on Audit, Intelligence, and Confidential Funds. Number two, that siya po ang nag-conduct ng audit ng Office of the Vice President, liquidation of confidential expenditures for the periods covering the fourth quarter of 2022, which is December 21 to 31, 2022, and the first, second, and third quarters of 2023. Pangatlo, na si Mr. Wamil po ang nag-conduct ng audit of the Department of Education liquidation of confidential expenditures for the periods covering the first, second, and third quarters of 2023. Number 4, napansin ni Mr. Wamil na kulang-kulang ang mga dokumentong sinubmit ng Office of the Vice President at ng DepEd for their liquidation of their respective confidential funds for the specified periods. Number 5, at dahil dito, si Mr. Wamil ay nag-issue ng audit and recommendations na tinatawag na Audit Observation Memorandum, AOM, dated September 14, 2023 and October 3, 2023, duly issued to the Office of the Vice President for the periods covering the fourth quarter of 2022 or the period December 21 to 31, 2022. Number 6, that Mr. Wamil also conducted the audit of the documents submitted by the OVP through its letters dated October 19, 2023, and November 30, 2023, in response to the aforementioned AOMs. Number 7, that in accordance with Mr. Wamil's audit and recommendations, nag-issue ng Notice of Suspension dated December 13, 2023 sa OVP. Number 8, in accordance with Mr. Wamil's audit and recommendation, an AOM dated February 1, 2024 was issued to the OVP for the periods covering the first, second quarters of 2023, and an AOM, Audit Observation Memorandum, dated August 8, 2024, was issued to the Office of the Vice President for the period covering the third quarter of 2023. Number 9, in accordance with Mr. Wamil's audit and recommendations, an Audit Observation Memorandum number 2024-015, dated February 1, issued covering the first and second quarter of 2023. Likewise, Your Honor, we are offering the testimony of this witness to identify and authenticate documents, and likewise, lastly, to prove such other matters as are relevant and material to the impeachment of Vice President Sara Duterte, and relevant as well to the aforementioned purposes.
Comment from the counsel for respondents on the offer?
Subject to cross, Your Honor.
Subject to cross, counsel may proceed with her direct examination of the witness, Mr. Roderick C. Wamil, when she is ready. You may
Thank you,
proceed,
Your
ma'am.
Honor. With the permission of the presiding officer, Honorable Senator Judges, Magandang umaga, Mr. Witness.
Magandang umaga po.
Kumusta na po kayo ngayon?
I'm feeling a bit anxious lang po as of this moment.
Nervyos. Anxious. Okay. Huwag kang mag-anxious. Please state your name again. Your name, your age, and occupation and other personal circumstances, Mr. Witness.
I am Roderick C. Wamil, 34 years old and currently an audit team leader of the Commission on Audit, Pasay City.
Before I ask you about your present occupation, give us a educational background. What is your educational background, Mr. Witness?
Ako po ay nagtapos ng Bachelor of Science in Accountancy from the Central Luzon State University at ng Juris Doctor degree from the Arellano University School of Law.
So you are both an auditor and a lawyer?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Ngayon, nagtrabaho ka sa COA?
Yes, ma'am.
How long have you been working for the Commission on Audit?
I've been with the Commission on Audit for more than 11 years po.
11 years. And what position in the COA do you presently hold?
I presently hold the position po of attorney of the Commission on Audit.
Ano yung attorney for?
It is yung description of the position po na hinahawakan ko. But currently po, I am an audit team leader po sa Commission on Audit Pasay.
Okay. Before you were assigned to the Commission on Audit Pasay, what was your previous position with the COA?
Before my assignment po sa Commission on Audit Pasay, I was previously assigned as a state auditor po of the Intelligence and Confidential Fund Audit Office of the COA.
Itong COA ICFAO, ICFAO?
Yes, ma'am.
Could you give us a background? Ano itong COA ICFAO?
Ang COA ICFAO po ay yung office under the Office of the Chairperson in charge with the conduct of the post-audit po ng liquidation of the confidential fund and intelligence fund of the various government agencies, which include the national government agencies, the government-owned or controlled corporations, and the local government units po.
Na-mention mo ang intelligence at confidential funds. For our understanding, para maintindihan namin ngayon, ano ang intelligence funds at ano ang confidential funds?
Ang intelligence funds po under the Joint Circular 2015-01 ay yung lump sum appropriation po na provided in the budget of the agency concerned with respect to their intelligence operations. While,
Ano naman ang confidential funds?
Ang confidential fund po, based on the Joint Circular 2015-01, ay yung lump sum appropriation po ng concerned agency para sa kanilang confidential expenses.
At you earlier said, sinabi mo kanina na ang office ng ICFAO ang nag-audit ng national government agencies. Anong ibig sabihin ng nagko-conduct ng audit? Anong klaseng audit ang ginagawa ng COA ICFAO?
Ang audit po na ginagawa ng COA ICFAO ay compliance post-audit po.
What do you mean by compliance post-audit?
When we say compliance post-audit po, we evaluate a certain subject matter which is covered by the audit with respect to a certain criteria po which is usually po yung applicable laws, rules, and regulations. And in case of the confidential and intelligence fund, ini-evaluate po namin yung liquidation ng confidential and intelligence fund based dun sa criteria na presented ng Joint Circular 2015-01. At pag sinabi naman pong post-audit, ginagawa po namin yung audit after the fact of the disbursement. So, ini-evaluate po namin kung yung disbursements ay properly supported with complete documents as required by the applicable rules and regulations. And if yung disbursements po ay hindi illegal, hindi irregular, or hindi improper.
At sa pag-conduct na sinabi mong post-audit, ano ang basihan ng ginagamit natin?
Ang ginagamit po namin sa ICFAO ay yung Joint Circular 2015-01.
Can you tell us ano itong Joint Circular 2015-01?
Ang Joint Circular 2015-01 ay yung nagpo-provide po ng guidelines on the entitlement, the use, the release, the reporting po at yung audit ng confidential fund at ng intelligence fund of the various government agencies.
If I show you a document now entitled, and this for appreciation of the Honorable Senate Impeachment Court is being flashed on the screen with the permission of the presiding officer.
Council may do so and may proceed.
I'm showing to you now a document entitled the Joint Circular 2015, which for identification has been marked as Exhibit P-1-4 for the prosecution. -E. Showing to you this document, we have here, Your Honor, we're being assisted here
Assisting counsel may approach.
our Associate Attorney Mark Penny.
Likewise, assisting counsel for the respondent may approach
Thank you, Your Honor.
the witness. While we're waiting, counsel, Attorney Kapunan, would you like to identify this document as previously marked so that we can have it on the record and for the reference?
Your Honor, please,
of
Mr. Witness, what relation does this joint circular have to the joint circular that you mentioned na basihan ng inyong audit, post-audit?
Ito po yung same joint circular po na basehan po ng aming audit sa ICFAO.
Okay. Bakit tinatawag ito na joint circular?
Tinatawag po itong joint circular dahil ito po ay resulta ng joint efforts ng Commission on Audit, ng Department of Interior and Local Government, ng Department of the Budget and Management, ng Department of the National Defense at ng Governance Commission for GOCCs.
So ito ay 5 government agencies, tama? And since when naging basihan ito ng mga post-audit ng national government agencies?
Naging basehan po ito ng audit ng ICFAO sa confidential and intelligence funds ng various government agencies noong January 8, 2015 rather, nung na-approve po ito.
Mr. Witness, ikaw ay familiar sa joint circular na to?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. If I show you Section 4.8, being flashed on the screen, Your Honors, with the permission of the presiding justice. Sa Section 4.8 na nakikita natin sa screen, ano-ano, what kind of confidential expenses can be incurred using confidential funds?
Under item 4.8 po of the Joint Circular 2015-01, the confidential fund shall be used only for the following confidential expenses. Una po, yung purchase of information necessary for the formulation and implementation
ano pa? Dahan-dahan natin. Unang-una, 4.8. Anong una?
Ang una po ay yung purchase of information necessary for the formulation and implementation of program, activities, and projects relevant to the national security and peace and order.
Being flashed on the screen, Your Honor, is the pertinent provision cited. Pangalawa, ano pa ang examples ng confidential funds or kung ano ang pwedeng paggamitan ng confidential funds?
Pangalawa po ay yung rental of transport vehicle related to confidential activities.
Also being flashed on the screen for easy reference. Pangatlo, ano pa?
Pangatlo po, yung rentals and the incidental expenses related to the maintenance of safe houses.
What else, Mr. Witness?
Pang-apat po yung purchase or rental of supplies, materials, and equipment for confidential operations that cannot be done through regular procedures without compromising the information gathering activity concerned.
What else, Mr. Witness? Ano pa?
Panglima po, yung payment of rewards to informers who must not be employees of the concerned government agency, subject to 3 conditions. First is yung approval by the head of the agency. Second, it must be supported with documents evidencing the success of the information gathering and or surveillance activities on account of the information given by the informer. Pangatlo, it must be directly related to the conduct of the specific confidential activities of authorized agencies.
For purposes of the records, Your Honor, the witness cited 4.8.1 up to 4.8.7 of the Joint Circular 2015.
Hanggang 4.8.5 pa lang po.
Sorry. What else, Mr. Witness?
Pang-anim po is to uncover or prevent illegal activities that pose a clear and present danger to the agency personnel or property or other facilities and resources under the agency protection done in coordination with the appropriate law enforcement agencies. And last po, yung others that may be authorized by the GAA or other special laws.
Okay. 4.8.1 up to 4.8.7. Ang refer po ng ating witness of Section 4.8 of the Joint Circular. Base rin sa Joint Circular na to, ano naman kung merong mga pwede, ano naman ang mga hindi pwede, yung mga bawal na confidential, alleged confidential expenses.
Under 4.11 po, may specific expenses po na enumerate na hindi pwedeng paggamitan ng confidential fund. Una po yung salaries, wages, overtime, additional compensation, allowance, or other fringe benefits of officials and employees who are employed by the government in whatever capacity or elected officials except when authorized by law. Pangalawa, yung representation, consultative fees or entertainment expenses. At pangatlo, yung construction or acquisition of buildings or housing structures.
For the record, Your Honor, reference is made to 4.11.1 up to 0.2 and as well as 0.3. Mr. Witness, sa pag-interpret, when you interpret these regulations and this joint circular and sections that you mentioned, what terms of compliance are you thinking about? Ito ba ay substantial compliance or strict compliance?
Strict compliance po, Madam.
Bakit, Mr. Witness? Why do you follow strict compliance instead of substantial compliance?
We follow po strict compliance since what is involved po ay public funds. So dapat strict yung accounting and auditing rules to prevent yung misuse ng fund.
And this is expressly stated in the joint circular. What you said, strict compliance.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, 9 years you said sa COA ICFAO.
With the permission of counsel, Mr. Witness, it is mentioned in the JMC that it should be strictly interpreted, and you said it's in the JMC. Where?
Sa last paragraph po ng 1.0, Your Honor.
Last paragraph ng 1.0. So in the rationale.
Yes po, Your Honor.
Thank you. You may proceed, counsel.
Now, Mr. Witness, you mentioned earlier na 9 years ka na with the COA ICFAO at meron kang mention that you post-audited certain government agencies. During your term, what years were you, incidentally, with the COA ICFAO?
I was with the COA ICPAO po from September 2014 until February of 2024.
In this period of time, from 2014 to 2024, could you tell us how many vice presidents have you audited?
Ang tanging nung time lang po ni Vice Presidente Sara Duterte.
But there were 3. Who were the vice presidents during this period?
Ang naging mga Vice Presidente po since I assume with ICPAO in 2014 ay si dating Vice President Binay at si dating Vice President Leni Robredo at yung ating incumbent Vice President po na si Sara Duterte.
So 3 vice president, Vice President Binay, Vice President Robredo, at Vice President Sara Duterte. Sino-sino sa kanila ang inaudit mo tungkol sa confidential funds?
Ang buhat po nung nag-assume ako nung 2014, tanging si Vice Presidente Sara Duterte lang po yung aking na-audit na may confidential fund.
Bakit, Mr. Witness? Bakit Vice President Sara Duterte lang ang inaudit mo ng confidential funds?
Dahil po, since nung nag-assume po ako ng 2014 sa ICPAO, wala pong naging appropriation for confidential funds si dating Vice President Binay at si dating Vice President Robredo. Tanging si Vice President Sara Duterte lang po yung nagkaroon ng appropriation for the confidential funds.
And in the same period of time, 2014 to 2024, kasama ba sa mga national agencies na minention mo ang Department of Education?
Yes, ma'am.
And during this period, 2014 to 2024, sino-sino ang mga secretaries ng Department of Education?
Sa pagkakaalala ko po, ang mga naging DepEd secretaries po ay dating Secretary Luistro, dating Secretary Briones at ang ating Vice Presidente in her concurrent capacity as the DepEd Secretary during that time po.
At sino sa 3 ito? Sino-sino sa mga secretary ng DepEd ang inaudit mo for confidential funds?
Tanging si Vice Presidente Sara Duterte lang po as the DepEd Secretary.
Bakit, Mr. Witness?
Dahil siya lang po yung naging DepEd Secretary na nagkaroon ng confidential funds ang DepEd.
And could you tell us how much was the confidential funds of the Vice President that you said you audited?
May I clarify po kung anong office po yung tinutukoy niyo?
Office of the Vice President.
Sa Office of the Vice President po, ang kanilang naging confidential fund ay from the 4th quarter of 2022 until 3rd quarter of 2023 ay 125 million pesos per quarter. So ang total po nun ay 500 million pesos.
Magkano naman ang confidential funds na inaudit mo sa DepEd, Department of Education?
Ang inaudit ko naman po sa Department of Education, since ang kanilang cash advances ay from the 1st quarter of 2023 until the 3rd quarter of 2023, at meron silang 37.5 million pesos quarterly cash advances. So ang naging total po nun ay 112.5 million pesos.
Thank you, Mr. Witness. Ngayon, you said that you conducted the post-audit of both offices. Pag nagko-conduct ng post-audit, ano ang rini-require na documents para sa confidential funds?
Ang nire-require po namin na documents ay yung mga requirements as provided under the Joint Circular 2015-01 o yung mga tinatawag na liquidation documents po.
Ano-ano ang mga liquidation documents na to?
Based on the joint circular po, yung mga liquidation documents na yun ay yung kanilang liquidation reports, yung disbursement voucher na ginamit nila, yung land bank checks, yung obligation request, yung kanilang physical and financial plan, yung kanilang accomplishment reports po, and yung proof of submission noon to the Office of the President, the Senate President, and the Speaker of the House, yung certification of the accountable officers on the utilization of the confidential fund, yung designation po ng Special Disbursing Officer kapag hindi si Head of Agency yung magiging disbursing officer, yung fidelity band ng accountable officers at yung kanilang specimen signatures po.
Okay. Your Honor, please, these liquidation documents submitted by the Office of the Vice President and the DepEd are among the stipulated documents of the counsel for the respondent, Your Honor. But for easy reference, may we also ask permission to flash them on the screen for the better appreciation of the senator judges. And may I
Counsel?
ask, I'm sorry.
Please proceed.
And may I ask Attorney Peña to please show these documents to our witness for purposes of comparison.
Assisting counsel may approach the witness. Likewise,
the respondent,
assisting counsel for the respondent.
Thank you.
If they so wish, this is for the information of the senator judges, given that the documents stipulated earlier were merely enumerated so that the senator judges may be appraised of the documents that have already been admitted to and stipulated to by both parties. Counsel may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Since stipulated, there's no need really to compare. But I am showing now to you, and this is being flashed on the screen with the kind permission of presiding judge, a copy of a fiscal financial plan approved on December 13, 2022, marked as Exhibit P-1-14 for the prosecution.
And likewise, for the record, on the part of the defense, marked as D-1-23-OVP.
That's
Yes,
correct,
sir.
Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
Will the witness please respond?
Sa bottom portion, can we look? Sa bottom portion, there appears a signature under the words. Meron pong signature sa words. Approved by. There. Anong ibig sabihin ng approved by?
Ang ibig sabihin po ng approve by ay inapprove po noong nakapirma yung contents ng physical and financial plan po based on that document.
Okay. At sinabi mo, approved by ay inapprove. Kung sino man ang nakalagay na signature dyan. Kaninong signature naman ang nasa bottom portion ng ating Exhibit -1-14?
Kay Vice Presidente Sara Duterte po.
Why are you familiar? Bakit mo kilala? Bakit mo alam ang signature ni Vice President Duterte?
Dahil among their submissions po ay yung kanilang specimen signatures at kasama po doon yung specimen signature po ni Vice President. At yung kanyang pirma po doon sa specimen signature submitted ay kaparehas po ng pirma niya dito sa physical and financial plan na ito.
Pinakita sa iyo ang isang physical financial plan which you said is a faithful reproduction of the submissions. And this is now being shown on the screen. Ano ang observations mo dito sa physical and financial plan approved on December 13, 2022?
Hindi po siya compliant to the joint circular dahil yung first column, which is the programs, activities, and projects, hindi po in-indicate nung OBP yung kanilang specific confidential activities na kanilang paggagamitan ng confidential fund as required under item 4.2 of the joint circular.
Hindi ito specific according to you and according to 4.2 of the joint circular. Can you please enlighten us? Ano itong section 4.2 ng joint circular?
Under item 4.2 po ng joint circular, all requests or allocations for CF must be supported with a physical and financial plan which must indicate the proposed amount allocated for each program and activity dahil ito po yung magiging basis for the disbursement ng kanilang confidential fund.
At yung mga sinabi mo, nakikita ba dyan sa dokumentong yan?
based po on this submitted physical and financial plan, hindi po nakikita rito yung kanilang specific confidential activities na kanilang pagbabasihan sa kanilang disbursement.
Apart from this, yung nakita mo sa column 1, ano pang ibang observations ang masasabi mo dito sa dokumentong ito?
Since yung columns for the expected outcome as well as yung column for the physical target mas match po yung specific confidential activities. So hindi rin po nakamatch or hindi rin compliant yung columns po as mentioned.
At bakit? Why do you say na hindi compliant na rin to sa joint circular?
Dahil po since hindi naman in-indicate po dito ni Office of the Vice President yung kanilang specific confidential activities, so hindi po na-match based on the information as presented po sa document na ito, yung laman ng expected outcome at yung physical target doon sa kanilang specific confidential activities.
And as you stated, what express provision of the joint circular does this violate?
The item 4.2 po of the Joint Circular
4.2 na
2015-01.
pinakita natin sa screen. Okay. Our next document, Mr. Witness, which we shall show you, is now a certified true copy of Land Bank of the Philippines check number 00002444027, dated December 20, 2022, Exhibit P-1-11-A, common exhibit of the defense as well. Likewise being flashed on the screen, Your Honor. Mr. Witness, what is the significance? Ano ang significance ng check na pinapakita na to in relation to your audit of the Office of the Vice President's confidential funds?
Ang significance po ng cheque ay ito po yung proof na pwede na nilang i-withdraw yung kanilang cash advance.
Na pwedeng i-withdraw na yung cash advance. Ngayon naman, punta tayo sa another document. I will show you now a disbursement voucher dated December 20, 2022. Again, common exhibit. For the prosecution, this is Exhibit P-1-10-A. For the period December 20, 2022. In the middle of this document, in the middle of this document, there appears a signature under the words, quote, certified expense, cash advance necessary, lawful and incurred under my direct supervision and control. Okay. Anong ibig sabihin itong certified expense, under my direct supervision?
Your Honors,
What is
kindly,
the
we would
pleasure
like
of,
to object on that
counsel for
one.
the respondent?
Your Honors, that calls for a conclusion of law.
I'm sorry, counsel?
That will call for a conclusion of law on the part of the witness, Your Honor. They're asking for what that means for the witness.
Only insofar as how the witness interprets this provision, given that he audited these documents and are part of the submission. Witness may answer.
Based on this disbursement voucher po, sinertify po ni Vice President na yung kanilang cash advance ay kailangan na ayon sa batas at na-incur po under her direct supervision.
And there is a signature here in this document. Whose signature is this, if you know?
May i-clarify po kung anong signature po yung tinutukoy. Ayong sa.
Above the name, Sara Z. Duterte.
That is the signature po of the Vice President Sara Duterte.
What else, if any, observation can you make as regards this document?
Under the particulars portion po, nakalagay na yung cash advance is for calendar year 2022, which is not compliant po with the joint circular Since under the joint circular po, the disbursement voucher shall state the duration of the implementation of the project. Pero since this cash advance is for the fourth quarter 2022, so hindi po tama yung nakalagay dito na yung cash advance is for the calendar year 2022.
At ano naman again? Ano ang violation nito sa joint circular?
May I refer po to the joint circular, Your Honor, for the specific provision?
Witness may refer to the joint circular previously marked.
The specific provision po is the second sentence po ng item 6.1.5 of the Joint Circular 2015-01.
Being flashed on the screen, Your Honor, presiding officer, with your kind permission.
You may do so, Counsel.
Can you read, for the record, 6.1.5?
6.1.5 of the Joint Circular, cash advances shall be limited to the requirements for 3 months. The disbursement voucher shall clearly state the duration of implementation of the projects. If the implementation of the project will extend to more than 3 months, additional amount may be granted only after the liquidation of the previous cash advance. If, on the other hand, cash advances are drawn monthly, liquidation shall be done monthly. Cash advances shall be granted only upon the certification of the agency accountant stamped or printed on the disbursement voucher that previous cash advance for the same purpose, project, or activity given to the SDO requesting cash advance has been liquidated and proper accounting thereof was made in accordance with this joint circular.
Okay. Ngayon naman, I will show you, kasi liquidation ang pinag-uusapan. I will show you a liquidation report dated January 10, 2023. Again, common exhibit. This is prosecution's exhibit P-1-9-A. A liquidation report dated January 10, 2023. In the middle of this document, by the bottom, there appears a signature under the words, certified purpose of travel cash advance duly accomplished. Mr. Witness. And this certification...
Counsel, just to correct you, certified purpose of cash advance duly accomplished. There's no word travel.
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you confirm, Counsel? You may
Yes,
proceed.
Your Honor. Certified purpose of travel cash advance.
Of cash advance.
Of cash advance duly accomplished.
Yes. You may proceed, Counsel.
Thank you for the correction, Your Honor. What does this mean in terms of your audit?
This means po na sinertify po ni Vice President na yung layunin ng cash advance ay kanilang na-accomplish.
And you said the Vice President, whose signature is that?
That is the signature po of the Vice President Sara Duterte.
What is the significance of her signature to this document, if any?
Ang significance po ng kanyang pirma dito ay kanya nga pong sinertify na yung purpose po ng kanilang cash advance from the confidential fund ay na-accomplish po ng agency.
And what are your observations? Ano ang mga observations mo, if any, sa dokumentong ito?
Actually, it is one of the proforma annexes po nung Joint Circular 2015-01. Siguro ang napansin ko lang dito ay yung period covered na December 21 to 31, 2022 since the cash advance was supposedly for the fourth quarter of the 2022 of the OBP. Pero other than that naman po, this document is compliant naman po with the requirement of the Joint Circular 2015-01.
Again, para maintindihan namin, sabi mo, ang na-observe mo, yung period. Yung period, Mr. Witness. Anong period covered dito?
Based on this liquidation report po, ang period covered ay December 21 to 31, 2022.
What is the significance? Bakit mo napansin itong period na to?
Napansin ko lang naman po yun kasi yung kanilang cash advance based on the fiscal and financial plan po supposedly is for the whole fourth quarter of 2022. Pero based on this document po, na-disburse lang siya from December 21 to 31, 2022 or around 11 days.
Okay. Sinabi mo, whole quarter of 2022. September, November, October, sandali. Can you enlighten me anong quarter dapat yun? October, November, December. Ang sinasabi mong 3 quarters.
3 months po.
3 months for the fourth quarter. Tama?
Yes, ma'am.
3 months for the fourth quarter, pero sabi mo ang ginastos na funds. Magkano ginastos na funds?
Based on the documents po submitted, 125 million pesos po.
In these 3 quarters? 3 months?
Based on the document po, it was supposed to be spent for the fourth quarter of 2022. So 3 months po, supposedly. Based on
Bakit
their
supposedly, Mr. Witness?
Dahil yun po yung supposed coverage ng kanilang cash advance for their confidential activities.
At sinabi mo kanina, 11 days ito ginastos. Tama?
Based on the document, yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, I'm showing to you now another document which is an accomplishment report previously marked as Prosecution's Exhibit P-1-7-A-I, again stipulated document, common document with the defense. What relation does this have? No. We will request permission to have it flashed on the screen as well.
You may do so, counsel. Clerk of court is so directed.
Can you repeat the question po, ma'am?
Now, look at the screen and look at your document. What is the relationship of this accomplishment report that I am showing you in relation to those documents submitted by the Office of the Vice President?
This is the same accomplishment report po na sinamit ni Office of the Vice President sa ICFAO.
Okay. And there appears here in this document under the words approved by. Whose signature is this?
It is the signature po of the Vice President Sara Duterte.
And the annotation approved by, in terms of your audit, what does this signify, if any?
It signifies po that the signatory or the Vice President approved the contents of this accomplishment report.
No. In relation to this particular document, what observations, ano-ano ang napansin mo sa dokumentong ito?
Napansin ko po na hindi po in-enumerate ng Office of the Vice President yung kanilang specific confidential activities na kanilang ginawa.
Kailangan bang enumerate yan? Mga
Yes, ma'am.
activities na yan?
Dahil-
Bakit, Mr. Witness?
Doon po kasi namin tinitignan sa audit ng ICFAO kung yung kanilang confidential expenses or activities ay compliant doon sa item 4.8 ng Joint Circular 2015-01 para malaman po namin kung yung kanilang expenses ay among the allowable expenses as provided under the Joint Circular 2015-01.
So what basis did you have?
Good morning, I'm Cheska Lituncalaw. Here are the latest stories at this hour. Day 11 of Vice President Sara Duterte's impeachment trial is underway. It began with 16 senators present, and former COA State Auditor Roderick Wamiel took the stand, with prosecutor Lorna Kapunan leading the direct examination. The defense confirmed previously agreed facts on Article 1, which covers the alleged misuse of confidential funds. Kapunan then asked the defense to accept the authenticity of more than 3,000 documents to speed up the proceedings. The records include more than 800 OVP acknowledgement receipts, along with other confidential fund documents from the OVP and DepEd. Both sides are now coordinating on which documents may be admitted. And now for the latest on the ground, mobile journalist Merimon Reyes is reporting live from the Senate. Merimon, what's happening there?
Cheska, nagpapatuloy ngayon itong presentation kay Wamil na state auditor nga at lead pa rin siya ng isang branch ng COA sa Pasay, kung saan sinasabi in charge siya doon sa conduct ng post-audit ng liquidation ng confidential intelligence fund ng various government agencies. That includes yung Office of the Vice President pati ang DepEd. And they observed insufficiency doon sa documentary submissions ng OVP pati ng DepEd doon sa liquidation ng respective funds for specific periods. Dahil dito nag-issue si Wamil during that time ng audit observation memoranda. And so far, nakikita nga nila na yung kanina rin naman itong defense, nag-stipulate din sila doon sa ilang ni-request o tinanong ng prosecution. Pero nilinaw din kanina dito ni Wamil na bakit si VP Sara lang, yung OVP, during that time, yung 2022-2023, yung inaudit. Since ang sabi dito ni Wamil, since nag-assume daw siya ng posisyon doon sa COA, wala raw naging appropriations for confidential funds. Ang mga dating vice, kabilang sina VP Binay, VP Leni Robredo, tanging si VP Duterte, Sara Duterte lang daw ang nagkaroon ng appropriation for confidential funds. Pero so far ngayon, nagpapatuloy pa yung direct examination ng prosecution dito kay Wamil. Cheska.
Merimon, before Wamil took the stand, there was quite a lengthy recess, no? Dahil may mga documents nga na inaral. When they came back, there were several stipulations that were agreed upon by both prosecution and defense, but the defense did not agree to certain stipulations. Can you summarize that for us?
Cheska, ang nasabi dito ni Attorney Michael Poa from the defense, while minark nila as common exhibit yung ilan sa mga documentary evidence during the pre-trial proper conference, yung iba sa mga ito na obserbahan nila, mayroon daw issues, and these issues may be touched by other witnesses in the future. Kaya for example, yung sinasabi na pinapastipulate ng prosecution na nag-allot ng confi funds amounting to 37.5 million pesos ang DepEd quarterly, okay naman daw dito ang defense, pero nag-counter-stipulate sila na under daw yun ng General Appropriations Act. Yung isang stipulation naman na ang OVP allotted ng confidential funds in the amount of 125 million pesos. Okay din naman daw ang defense dito, pero ang counter-stipulation nila, this was approved by the Office of the President as recommended by the DBM. Another one, yung sinabi na OVP and DepEd na nag-withdraw sila ng respective confidential funds, nag-stipulate dito ang defense. Ang sinabi rin ng OVP, ito yung isa, sabi sa stipulations, ang nire-request na ma-stipulate ang PROSEC, the OVP also received confidential funds in the amount of 125 million pesos on December 20, 2022, which it was used up in 11 days. No stipulation on this matter ang sinabi ng defense. Jessica.
All right, thank you, mobile journalist Merimon Reyes. I'm Cheska Lutongkalaw. Kapatid, we are One News.
hopefully in time for lunch, really, and it has gone beyond already 12 o'clock. So before proceeding to I presume, a common exhibit previously stipulated to by both parties, you're referring to the AOM of October 3, 2023. Let's pause in the meantime with the permission of the parties, again in compliance with the agreement earlier made among the senator judges. And we shall resume at 1 o'clock in order to afford the parties enough time for lunch. And again, with the indulgence of Attorney Kapunan, let's continue with the common exhibit stipulated to by the parties. Particularly, I'm referring to AOM dated October 3, 2023. And before we go to the unstipulated portion of the acknowledgement receipts, which might take some time. Again, with the permission of the parties, Attorney Kapunan, Attorney Poa, we are on recess and shall resume at 1 p.m.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Your
Your
Honor.
Honor.